कठिनाइयाँ आई। अब ये अगर फिर से ये सिलसिला शुरू हुआ है तो एक नज़ीर के तौर पर तेलंगाना सरकार को दोषी छात्रों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए, जिससे आगे इसकी पुनरावृत्ति वहां नहीं हो पाए।
देखिए, रैगिंग के मामले कई भाजपा शासित राज्यों से खुल करके सामने आ रही है, तो जो चीजें समाप्त हो चुकी है फिर पुनर्जीवित करने की जहां कोशिश हो रही है तो चिंताजनक है। ये नहीं होनी चाहिए। शासन को कठोरतम कार्रवाई भी करनी चाहिए।
Shifting focus now to Karnataka, where more than 230 years after his death, Tipu Sultan continues to remain in the eye of political debates in the state. Now the BJP and the Congress have locked horns in yet another face-off over the construction, this time of a Tipu statue. Now after the recent controversy over Tipu Jayanti, former minister and Congress MLA Tanveer Seth has reignited the Tipu fire with the promise of building a 100-foot tall Tipu statue. He vowed to erect the statue either in Mysuru or Srirangapatna, which had been Tipu's administrative headquarters.
कि चाहे वो श्रीरंगपट्टनम में हो या फिर चाहे मैसूर में हो, हजरत टीपू सुल्तान शहीद रहमतुल्लाह अलैह का 100 फीट का ऐसा पुतला बनाने की हम कोशिश करेंगे।
Now the Congress party MLA Mr. Seth made that announcement on Saturday, which has now triggered a massive war of words. The Congress sees nothing wrong in building Tipu's statue and even hailed him as a freedom fighter who fought the British. The BJP, however, hit back, reminding the Congress that Tipu Sultan had butchered thousands of Hindus during his reign.
ಮಾಡಲಿ ಬಿಡಿ ಪಾಪ, ಯಾಕೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಡಿಸರ್ವ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಮಾಡಲಿ ಬಿಡಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿರೋರು ತನ್ವೀರ್ ಸೇಠ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಮಾಡಲಿ. ಅವರು
ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಲಿ, ಯಾರು ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಂಬಲ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಮತ್ತು ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಜನ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮನೆಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ.
Why not? He is the first freedom fighter of the country. That is the symbol of, he is the symbol of justice, symbol of the great fight against the Britishers.
तनवीर सेठ उन्हें एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम का स्टैचू बनाना चाहता है तो हम भी मदद करेंगे। हम भी साथ जाकर के स्टैचू बनाने के लिए पूरा मदद करेंगे। टिप्पू ए डिस्प्यूटेड कैरेक्टर है, उन्हें ब्रिटिशों के खिलाफ लड़ा वो ठीक है, बहुत अत्याचार किया वो भी सच है, हिंदुओं के ऊपर अत्याचार किया वो भी सच है, हर शहर का नाम बदल दिए उन्हें वो भी सच है। कन्नड़ राज्य भाषा पहली भी है आज भी है, राज्य भाषा बदल करके पारसी भाषा लागू किए टिप्पू ने। हम लोग उसको मौका नहीं देंगे, हम नहीं देंगे।
That's a wrap on News Pulse, but shifting our focus now to the day's big debate on India up front with Times Now's editor-in-chief Rahul Shivshankar.
Thanks indeed, Siddharth. Viewers, how does this happen? How does an intelligent, seemingly balanced young woman who placed all her faith in one man end up in the refrigerator of the home they shared, chopped into 36 or 35 different pieces? Viewers, some betrayals are so diabolic that they leave you chilled to the bone, bewildered and wondering about the meaning of life and love. Aftab Poonawalla is as woke can get, viewers. If you go through his social media posts, you will notice his advocacy for LGBTs, for women. At one point he endorses the progressive view that women aren't born with any labels, prefixed labels. One of those labels he supposedly detested, and rightly so, was sex object. There you can see the other labels he had a problem with. These views made him attractive, as Shraddha, from what we gather after speaking to some of her friends, seemed to be an independent woman who would value a man that respected women in general. Yet the supreme irony is that he reportedly killed Shraddha when she began to ask him to commit to the relationship in a more meaningful way. Aftab has apparently confessed that he allegedly was inspired by a TV show called Dexter. The lead character of the show, however, only kills those that are deemed a threat to society. Other serial killers, viewers, other unholies, but not the innocent, not the trusting, not the wholesome. This, of course, by the way of an explanation, doesn't add up, as you can imagine. Perhaps Aftab was a predator, as the police claim. He wore his disguise well. Let me, viewers, however, take you through what we know about this grisly crime. Aftab and Shraddha were supposed to be in love. Shraddha asked him to marry her, and then a story that should have ideally ended in a lifetime of happiness ended abruptly and brutally. Shraddha's dreams literally chopped into pieces. Her trust frozen in a refrigerator. Viewers, her life partner, her supposed life partner, reportedly even on the day of the murder, ate in peace, ordering food from an online app, even as she lay dead in the same house, perhaps right next to him or in the same room. The depravity, the brutishness doesn't end there. Over the course of the next fortnight, Aftab allegedly went about disposing the remains by cutting them, slicing them, dicing her, and storing her parts in the refrigerator. This went on for 16 days, viewers, and to mask the smell, the police tell us he was lighting incense sticks in the house. The more one learns about the murder, the more distrusting one gets, viewers, about the inherent goodness of humanity. Here is what happened. A gruesome sequence painstakingly put together by Times Now's reporters from Delhi and Maharashtra. Watch this, viewers.
This is house number 93, Chhatarpur, gully number 1. This is where the incident took place. These are the visuals from inside this area. He strangled her, cut her into 35 pieces, kept her pieces in the fridge on a stand. You can see right there, that is the area where the fridge used to be kept, and pieces of her body used to be kept by Poonawala.
This is the fridge in which the dead body was stored for 15 to 18 days. As of now, the accused is in police custody. Further investigation is taking place.
Shraddha murder case are quite gruesome. These are the visuals from Mehroli area of the national capital, where accused Aftab Poonawala used to dispose of the body of his lover here 2 a.m. every night. By far, police has recovered 12 to 13 pieces of Shraddha's body from this place only.
और देखिए यहाँ पे ये बिल की कॉपी है, इसी बिल की कॉपी आप देखिए कि यहीं से जो है इसने यहाँ से वो 260 लीटर की फ्रिज खरीदी थी। ये देखिए ये फ्रिज जो है, इसी फ्रिज की एक वैरायटी को उसने यहाँ से खरीदा था। ये डबल डोर की फ्रिज है 260 लीटर की, और इसी फ्रिज की वैरायटी को उसने खरीदा था। तकरीबन 25,000 रुपए जो है उसने इसके कारण इस फ्रिज के लिए पे किया था। क्रेडिट कार्ड से बताया जा रहा है कि उसने पेमेंट किया था।
Viewers, it's all very disturbing, isn't it? It's all out of one of those crazed, psychopathic movies that one watches. But the police, viewers, who must be credited, and let's give them credit where it's due, for solving this case, have also added what they believe happened. Why this relationship went the way it has gone. The police, viewers, were brought into this case after Shraddha's parents alerted them. Remember, Shraddha and Aftab were living in Delhi. They had moved to Delhi from Maharashtra because their parents, or at least Shraddha's parents, were not very happy with the relationship, and they left Maharashtra to live in Mehroli, rented accommodation near Chhatarpur. Viewers, the family, of course, was intermittently in touch with Shraddha, and apparently when some of her friends began to speak to her, she started talking about some physical abuse that was inflicted upon her by Aftab. But she found herself unwilling or unable to perhaps leave this house of discord. Viewers, we are also being told that her father had also counseled her against continuing with the relationship, but she didn't heed his advice and then eventually moved to Delhi, where contact between the parent and Shraddha became much more infrequent. In fact, it was only after a friend got in touch with her brother, Shraddha's younger brother, that the family began to get a bit concerned. The friend said that he hadn't been in touch with Shraddha for a while, 2 months in fact. That would mean that this crime was committed somewhere in July, around the time when the refrigerator was bought. The police say it was bought almost on the same day as the crime itself, or thereabouts. There's still more clarity awaited on that, but if that is indeed the case, this was obviously well thought out, viewers. It was all well thought out, and it appears that Aftab had planned it in a way that he thought, he was confident that he could get away with it, cover his tracks, etc. But first, listen to the police.
The murder happened in mid of May, as of now what we have. Then gradually what the boy did was he chopped the body to pieces and stored them in fridge. And later on with time, over months, he disposed of the body parts in various parts of the area.
As per the initial investigation, what is the motive that you have been zeroed upon?
The motive currently what we have is that it was a live-in issue basically. They had a relationship fight and this thing got out of control and he killed the girl.
Viewers, let's speak to Rajat Shukla, who's a friend of Shraddha's first, before I bring in some of our commentators, etc., to speak a little bit about their views on this particular matter. It is one of those crimes which can't be brushed under the carpet, viewers. There are so many issues here that we need to confront, because after all, relationships are all integral to our lives, and how they're managed, etc., make and break lives, as we have now seen. So there's a lot to be said. Unfortunately, we aren't having robust conversations. We'll come to that in just a short while. But let me go across to Rajat Shukla, Shraddha's friend. Rajat, we spoke to you earlier and you talked about Shraddha. Tell us a little bit about Shraddha. What was she like?
Shraddha was a very active girl in college, let me tell you that. She had a different spark. She used to have a pixie cut hairstyle, which made her stand out. And she used to be very active in theatre. We used to participate in Marathi theatre. We used to perform on various stages. Something just happened, during the time of her graduation. 2018 was when I think she went to a secret relationship with this guy, but 2019 was when they informed that yes, she is in a relationship with this boy, Aftab. Few of our friends met him and they thought that he's a good guy. These people are mature, they are going to stay together. Shraddha was not in very good relationships with her family. She had her reasons, but she was very active with her friends. And then, she getting into this boy. That is something absolutely going to be personal between two loving partners. That is definitely not exposed to us. However, much that we knew, it was a beautiful relationship. But now, after so it's been like 6 months. We got to know that she's missing. We tried to contact her. There was no way we could do that. And after hearing about the murder, now comes a question whether this person was truly a lover or a murderer. The question is.
Well, of course, I don't want to prejudge the investigations, but let's just rewind a little bit, Rajat, because you talked about the fact that she met him somewhere in 2019. Did I get that right?
We were informed that she met him in 2019, but I think she met him in 2018 itself, as informed by few of our friends.
Okay, so then she happened to move away from Maharashtra and she started living up north, now in Delhi specifically. Now, why did that happen? Were you aware of why that was?
Yeah. So both of them had decided mutually that they're going to do a job, there in Delhi. But sooner after they shifted, Shraddha was totally out of reach.
Okay.
And he said that he doesn't know where she is. So that really made us question that where is she? Is she fine and everything? We were expecting that she comes back safe and sound, but now you see what's happening.
So how soon after they moved to Delhi did he sort of tell you he doesn't know where she is? What was that period of time?
So there are few people who are like extremely close to Shraddha. They informed that within a week Shraddha was nowhere. Like there was no signs that Shraddha could be contacted.
Okay, and there was nothing that she was posting on social media. She was not active anywhere.
Yeah.
That must have been very worrying.
And that really made very, very, very worrying. And it's the reason all of us friends and few people, immediate family and the relatives, we started worrying that where she is. This is really sad that the system of giving freedom crosses the line where you sort of become unreachable to your loved ones, and I think that is certainly a thing that everybody should see it as a concern. You cannot just give freedom to somebody. It's not that, this is not Shraddha's fault. This is somewhere our fault. We feel sad that we were unable to contact her. If we would have been around her or been there in her distances or, her understanding towards the relationship, she used to tell us that, Aftab is being very violent to her. Aftab beats her. But, she was in love. She was in a toxic relationship. She wanted to leave. But she was unable to because she was in deep love, and as it is very rightly said that sacrifices are something that love really demands. But I think this is very, very bad. One must really see their friends or their family in a way that they should see this as a concern. That if somebody is suffering from let's say loneliness, you need to be there around them, not leave them in whatever life they are leading into. Aftab might have seen this as an opportunity and might have got into love, but then a person doing murder is like certainly can't be called love.
Well, obviously there are complications here, and I think, Rajat, you're right. When there are signals, one must, if you're a true friend of somebody, you must sort of recognize those signals, raise the alarm bells, perhaps, group around that individual and try to sort of, and that's I think an important lesson, viewers. We're living such disconnected lives. I mean, while we are connected through this horrible device called the mobile phone, which is, clamped to our ears or our palms all the time, we're actually not communicating. We're quite broke from each other. When colleagues fall sick, they fall off the map, we let it go. We call when we want to, because we are so busy doing our own thing on social media that we just forget. And then there are times when we think we should be so loyal to the friend that actually their loyalty costs them. And these are some lessons. I mean, I'm nobody to speak on anyone's behalf, but from what Rajat is saying, I think you're right, Rajat. There is, and I can see you're getting emotional there, but I suppose this is a moment for you all to grieve, and I'm not going to continue with the conversation with you, sir, because I know it's disturbing, and I'm sorry to have reopened some of those wounds, but thank you very much, Rajat, for speaking to us, and may your soul rest in peace, and God bless you. And I hope you can come together as a group of friends. Thank you. Thank you very much. As I was saying, viewers, unfortunately, we're so divided. Our society is so fractious that we can't even unite to bring ourselves to unconditionally condemn this act of utter devilry. Some are bearing the name of the perpetrator to self-censor their outrage. Others aren't demanding accountability from a society that has often treated women as expendables. Still others are attributing ideological and religious motives to the horrifying circumstances. If even Shraddha's murder, viewers, can't bring us to shed our preconceived notions, crawl out of our silos, to ask the right questions, to condemn this in unison, this act of brutality in one voice, then God help us as a society and whatever pretensions we have to civility, let alone anything else. And I think, Dr. Ranganathan, you'd agree with me, isn't it? I mean, look at the fractured response. I mean, I am reading social media posts, I'm going over, political remarks that are trickling in where one side is blaming the other, and there is an unfortunate breakdown here. And I think this has come out of the hate that is whipped up, because we get so defensive about what we stand for that we forget that the other person might have a point of view. And I've suffered that, you've suffered that, the cancel culture that is, at some level or the other becoming. And of course we have an activist with us, Rashmi Samant, who has suffered it in a life-altering way, viewers. So we know what this cancel culture does. It blinds us. And if Shraddha's death can't unite us, then I'm afraid, viewers, her death will go in vain. We owe it to her. We really owe it to her, don't we, Dr. Ranganathan? We owe it to her.
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. It's been an absolutely horrific crime to know, and the bone-chilling details have just left me absolutely stunned, and my sincere condolences to the father and the mother and those who are bereaved. It's really a horrendous crime. There's not much I can say except at this point of time, if you permit me, a couple of things.
Yeah, of course.
The one that you touched upon yourself, I'll come to that a bit later, but I think it's too early to talk about this in more detail because the investigations have just started.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to me, prima facie, to be a case of impersonation, i.e. love jihad, and it doesn't also seem to me to be a case of a religious motive, at least on the face of it, like others have been previously. There have been terrible murders committed in interfaith marriages that have happened, that have had distinctly as borne out by investigations to have religious motive. In this case it doesn't, but because you asked, Rahul, what attributes really a religious motive to such crime, and it's very difficult to say, and that is one of the problems, because some people have been so selective in the past that they immediately attribute a religious motive when it's not there. Like in this case, it's not very apparent. But if the perpetrator was a Hindu or a Dalit and the victim was a Muslim, then the headlines would be that a Hindu man murders a Muslim woman. I mean, we've seen this so many times before, and in fact people on social media have made these these panels where on side 1 the same magazine says something else, and side 2, when the perpetrator is Muslim, the things are omitted. And so I want to perhaps kind of coax my fellow panelists into a more philosophical thing. What really constitutes whether a case is communal or not? Very briefly, 30 seconds, let's take Palghar example. I mean, the ready identification of a saffron-clad sadhu was not enough for it to be attributed to a communal hate crime. What, for example, if instead of the Palghar in sadhus, it was a sherwani-clad, cap-wearing Maulana from UP, and the UP police had taken him, this Maulana, and thrown him to the wolves? What would the magazines and the other media would be saying? Would they not be attributing a communal motive to that? So these are the questions that we need to ask, but of course they would come at a later stage. Today of all days, it has to be a sincere condolences and maybe a reflection on, as you correctly put it, whether we are a deeply fractured society at this point of time to even identify what brings about such crimes.
I know, I am getting this feeling, and I want to bring in Rahul Ishwar and Rashmi Samant and Lokesh Jindal, but just before that, let me quickly go across to Priyank. I'm being told that there are more exclusive probe details that are being accessed. So the police, viewers, just a short while back, in fact, put out a statement so that there is no misinformation. Now remember, viewers, Times Now has not even once mentioned, not in this intro, not in our lines, not in anything, the religious identity of these people. They are for us, Aftab and Shraddha, two Indians, viewers. Neither do we, viewers, want to paper over anything. And neither do we want to add motives where none exist. Let me, I'm going to pick off from where, before I bring in Priyank, Dr. Anand Ranganathan was saying, I'll tell you one case, viewers, where even I was shocked. The crime was really the apathy of the police that wanted to cover up its tracks. And I'm taking you back to Hathras now, all of you, viewers. So Times Now began that story questioning the police and the hastiness with which they sort of, burnt the body, cremated it, etc., of this young woman who happened to be a Dalit. For us, it was not about her being a Dalit. But viewers, a whole group of individuals started focusing on the identity and saying, oh, look, an upper caste Hindu man has killed a Dalit, because you see, Dalits' lives don't matter in this country. It was quite strange because about 100 or 200 kilometers away in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, further east, there was another crime where, in fact, viewers, a Muslim man had killed a Dalit lady, a Dalit woman. And no one was attributing any motives there. I think that's what Dr. Ranganathan was trying to say, and because we have become so blinded by our own...
And in this case, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Shraddha, the late Miss Shraddha, is also a Dalit.
Well, I wouldn't know. I didn't go that far. So if that is indeed the case, it's a revelation to me. So as I'm saying, viewers, look, I'm not here focusing on identity. We want to understand why somebody who was obviously reaching out and telling people that she was in an abusive relationship but couldn't quite extract herself from it, got no help. Viewers, were we so worried that we might step on a fault line that would be used as a stereotype that we kept away? Viewers, I'm getting that distinct sense. Oh, we will end up, labeling X community as a peculiar type of community that would do something and that would be acceptable, etc., or their mindset. You see, no, viewers, when you start doing this, you are letting down the people involved, the people who are going to end up suffering. And that's what, in a way, Rajat Shukla was trying to tell us. That maybe, these kind of narratives, as you know, viewers feed. People have said, oh, you're picking on this couple because you see they happen to be an interfaith couple and therefore you're exaggerating a particular problem which doesn't exist, etc. But we'll come to that later, and I want to bring in Priyank Tripathi. Priyank, you've been, of course, following this case and you've been speaking to a large number of your own contacts in the Delhi police, etc. Now, what are you learning? Because what I'm seeing on the screen that we are putting out, this is eye-opening and points to some amount of premeditation.
See, Rahul, the couple shifted to the national capital 5 days before the brutal murder happened. But what happened after that is more horrific. Because the detail which I have managed to gather clearly points out that after a small verbal fight, he strangulated Shraddha and then he slept inside the house after dumping the body inside the washroom area. Next day, he went to buy a refrigerator so that the body pieces can be hidden there. Along with the refrigerator, he bought a knife and plastic bags, and every night at 2 a.m. he used to leave his house, go to the nearby forest area, dump the body pieces and come back. And that drama, that horrific thing continued for 16 days. What on earth, who on earth, Rahul, can do something heinous like this, that you are in a relationship with a person for the last 3 years and then you kill that person and then chop the body into pieces. Every night at 2 a.m. you leave for dumping the pieces to different locations. But that did not end there, Rahul. He did not inform the police regarding any kind of missing complaint which should have been given by him if he wanted to give it at the plot. He cleaned the refrigerator with chemicals so that no evidential proof could be found from the refrigerator even if the DNA samples are taken. So we are talking about an individual who was living in the same house for 16 days till the time all the pieces were thrown to the forest area, and then he used to again come back, have dinner, sleep there, and then order food from online portal. I have not come across any individual like this. Like last incident which I had covered in Uttarakhand, the husband had killed the wife and the body was put inside the refrigerator, and then he used to dump it in one go. But for 16 to 17 days, body pieces being taken out, being thrown is something very horrific, and this is first of its kind which has happened in India.
Well, there you have it. Some more information coming out: formaldehyde used, etc. Bones found, sent for forensic investigation. So there is more being recovered from that home. Viewers, it seems to be the den of a ghoul right now. I want to bring in Rashmi Samant and Rahul Ishwar and Lokesh and Advocate Ehtesam Hashmi. Let me first begin with you, Rashmi Samant. You see, the problem is of self-censorship at some level, where we perhaps didn't want to ask the questions which are legitimate because that would have sort of cast this entire relationship into, as you know, familiar pattern, stereotyping. Do you see that perhaps is one of the reasons today?
Firstly, I think it is horrifying that this degree of organized crime has percolated to domestic spaces in India. I mean, the sheer planning and the precision and execution is bone-chilling. Secondly, I do agree that labeling has unfortunately been dictating the degree to which we outrage and the degree to which we ask questions. Had it not been an interfaith relationship, I'm sure her friends would have been more comfortable asking more questions about the very abusive nature of the relationship. And millennials, unfortunately, we're so scared of labeling. We want to be accepted within society, and we put in all these blinkers, and I think interfaith relationships are of course one of the no-go zones wherein you don't ask questions, irrespective of obvious signs like that of abuse which existed. And I think as a society we have failed by ascribing to stereotypes, by ascribing to existing norms, and of being scared of ostracized. We can't let labels scare us. We can't let labels scare us of ostracization and then let it dictate our actions, because that is the sign that our society is not governed by the principle that it should be. And these things will continue to happen if that's the case.
And this has happened in the past when there have been interfaith relationships and they've been in trouble. People have said, let's keep away, because if one community or members of one community were to intercede on behalf of one of the couples, it would be said, oh, here is an attempt to try and split a relationship which typifies the diversity of India. This is an assault, this is intolerance, look at this. Here is a whole group of Hindus trying to extricate a Hindu from a relationship with somebody of another faith, etc., etc. And it works the other way too. So people just keep away. Say, forget it, let's not get into this. And I want to bring in Lokesh Jindal of the Congress and the other sort of secular-minded parties which, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Rahul Ishwar, that are sort of to blame for creating this victimhood narrative, that one set of people are more oppressed than the others. Lokesh Jindal, I want to ask you this. Would you today accept that perhaps we've gone a bit too far with this labeling nonsense? Needs to end. It's keeping people away from asking the right questions.
I didn't get your question, Rahul. Can you please rephrase it?
I don't know what more to say. It is a complicated issue, and I don't want to use words, but I'm trying to say, Lokesh ji, is this: if you perpetuate this narrative that the members of one community are the oppressed in this country, are the victims of an ostracization, others who might be do-gooders, who might want to actually intercede and prevent something from happening, might not want to. Because they'll say that we will be seen as the enablers of the oppression. You see what I'm trying to tell you? Lokesh ji, today the Congress party, for example, which is a party that has coined a very beautiful phrase, ladki hoon, lad sakti hoon. I am not seeing the Congress party take the strident view that it usually does in other aspects, and I don't want to make this about communities, but I find your response rather muted. The response is taking on the BJP or the lack of their response or outrage or their response, etc. But I'm not seeing, conversations around, well, women need to be protected from abuse and torture in their own homes. We must have a system that allows for anonymous counseling. We must improve access of women to, for example, services where the battered or the brutalized can actually go and get an empathetic hearing. I'm not hearing this discourse, and it's worrying me, Lokesh bhai. It really is.
I'm really glad, Rahul. It's a very constructive debate that we are discussing over here. The issue is really, it's a heinous crime. And there are two important things that I would like to bring to the focus. The first is, yes, there is a need of a law, not just limited to marriage, but even with respect to live-in partners as well. There needs to be a law, an enabling, you can say, platform whereby women, they can report if they are facing such form of abuse. And another issue is with respect to censoring of the OTT platforms, which are brewing a culture of psychopathy, isolation, and it is also to a certain degree responsible for such forms of an acts. So over here, we want the government to act in a prospective manner. It must come out with some meaningful legislation.
No, but Mr. Jindal, let's assume that the government is too preoccupied. Now the opposition needs to come out and therefore make these demands in a public forum. Yes, I don't know, Parliament, maybe you should have gone to, for a change, actually gone to Jantar Mantar and done something about it or asked for something, but I don't know what held you people back. What was it?
No.
You're a sensible gentleman.
The point you made is valid, and certainly political parties must take up this issue, and
I'll tell you, viewers, I'll just take you back. I'll take you back. Nirbhaya, we all remember that. Didn't we all come out, viewers? Dr. Ranganathan, didn't we all come out? In fact, there were political parties that they laid siege to the hallowed ground of protest politics, which was Raisina Hill, if you remember this. And after that,
yes,
we've had a permanent sort of injunction on whether you can hold protest there or not, but you must remember that. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, no, I do, and I see that as a tragedy because and I've had this opinion that there are 35,000 rapes that happen in India every year, and each rape is as worse a crime, as heinous as the other one.
Yeah.
It took a Nirbhaya for us to formulate guidelines and for Justice Verma to come and sit and have a 600-page report that still many of our governments, including the central government, has not followed. But can I very briefly tell and briefly disagree with my good friend Mr. Jindal, because when he's talking about OTT and he's hinting at censorship, does he mean to say that the film Psycho that was in the 60s led to psychopathic murders being let loose and psychopaths being let loose and embalming happening and taxidermy happening? No, I think there is no relation to that. What happens is, in this case, and very briefly, I want to touch upon this thing that I try to coax the fellow panelists to get an answer on. About Palghar, ready identification of saffron clad, and still people saying that it was not a communal crime. I ask again because a week ago, not many people in fact know who Mr. Kanhaiya Lal or Kanshi Lal Bheel was.
Yeah.
He was killed by 5 Muslims for daring to take water from a tube well. This happened in Rajasthan 5 days ago. There has been no outrage. A tribal was lynched in broad daylight because many people said this is not a communal crime. They disregarded the fact that here was a tribal who was prohibited from drinking water from this so-called, upper caste Muslim tube well. Not only that, the brother of the victim said that virulent casteist slurs were hurled at Mr. Bheel before he was killed. He was in fact even refused a trip to the hospital. So you are absolutely right, Rahul. There are two ways that people deal with each of these crimes, and that is a real tragedy. On one hand, you go immediately for identification. On the other hand, you keep it away. And that is a tragedy in this country.
Yeah, Rahul Ishwar, let me bring you into this. Isn't this a fact?
Rahulji, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's an open it's an open secret that our left liberal friends has a pseudo secular bias and hypocrisy in dealing with this. Like Rashmi rightly pointed out, or like Dr. Anand rightly pointed out, there is, and let us be honest about it, there is a pseudo secular bias. But equally importantly, there is another point too. It is regarding relationship education. For example, in Kerala, some weeks back, there was a 22-year-old rank holder Grishma who poisoned her boyfriend. Some months back, there was a person who chopped off the heads of of his girlfriend, and then he said, I only will get 14 years. After that, I will come back and live a normal life. So something is happening to the sociological, psychological aspect of our youngsters. Kerala State Youth Commission, which I was a part, many women's commission have rightly said, we need something called a relationship education in our schools and colleges. Romance changes into revenge. They all started with good romance. Romance changes into revenge. Sometimes passion changes into perversion. We have to stop that. And what is the way ahead? Value education, life skill education, ethical sensitization, and a relationship education. In US parlance, they usually call it men are from Mars, women are from Venus, quoting from Dr. John Gray. Even though it is pop psychology, it drives the point home. So from school time onwards, especially from the age group of 16 to almost 2022, where our minds are a bit more impressionable, we are growing on a particular phase, our ideas about the world and relationship are not yet formed, we need to instill a sense of relationship education without moral policing. Maybe ethical consciences can be there.
It's a very important point.
Imposing moral policy.
Because even that would be politicized. Let me tell you, people would say, oh, this suits one community more than the other.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we will know the discourse that will come in, that certain, these are too progressive for one community, not so progressive. We have our own sort of, codes, etc. to live by. This is not acceptable. This is apostasy. You'll hear a lot of that also, viewers, and people will back off. You see, so life issues, as I said, life and death issues, we are constantly locating them in the box of identity politics. Ehtesham Hashmi, am I right or am I wrong, sir? You please tell me tonight.
Thank you so much for giving me a few seconds to express my views, and my sympathy is for the victim family, and the accused must be brought to books by following the due process of law. And as a human being, I don't want to express my views today as a lawyer because it's a very ghastly and unhuman crime. What I have seen in my 16 years practice as a Supreme Court lawyer and various courts, primarily in criminal cases I dealt with, I would like to say that almost 4,28,278 criminal cases of crime against women are pending in various states of our country. I would request Government of India to frame a dedicated law for these kinds of crime, like we can form a dedicated female officers who can investigate these kinds of crime, and dedicated criminal courts who can conduct the trial and punish the culprits. These are two crucial reforms which I would like to suggest. And counseling center should be established to counsel the families of victim's family. And one more thing, we need to bring out a separate chapter and separate subject in schools so that we can teach our children that in which manner and what fashion we should interact with our female colleagues, because crime is almost like a mirror of the society. Criminals are from us only, and we should not divide crime on the basis of religion, caste, place of birth, etc. If we follow the strict guidelines issued by Government of India or National Commission for Women and various guidelines given by Supreme Court of India in Vishakha case, we have seen lots of guidelines issued by Supreme Court. If we follow these kinds of guidelines in a strict manner, then I can say that these types of crimes should be curtailed.
These are very lovely suggestions, and obviously all of us would want these conversations to happen, but The conversation can only happen when there is enough public momentum. See, Times Now will do this story tonight, and we will feed those who are watching this only to find out भाई क्या हुआ, अरे अरे तो जघन्य हत्या हुई, क्या कैसे मारा, क्यों मारा. So there will be that one set of people who are tuning in to get the facts of this, and then they'll say अरे अरे देखो ये वाली छुरी और वो वाला fridge and this that. But the larger conversation can only happen, viewers, if you start accepting that there are fault lines, and we need to very quickly come to terms with them, call them out for what they are, and address the problems that are associated when people dare to love without prejudice. And that's very, very important. Dr. Ranganathan, that is the conversation we never seem to have in this country. And when we do have it, it is so politicized that there is no point having it.
No doubt, and I think my good friend Mr. Ehtisham has brought out some excellent points, and especially about the courts and how the process should be expedited, and also the investigation. But may I please kindly disagree with him on one point when he says that any crime should not be any religious motive should not be attributed. I think I'm afraid you're wrong, Mr. Hashmi, because religious bent crimes happen all the time. In fact, it was you who attributed religious motives to Junaid's murder, Pehlu Khan's murder, and Akhlaq's murder, and possibly rightly so. There have been, I took the example of Mr. Bhil, who was murdered and lynched by a Muslim mob. It was after casteist, slurs were hurled at him. So that obviously had a communal angle to it. There are communal angles to a crime, and there are no communal angles to a crime. So it's not right to say that every crime is devoid of any communal angle. That's all. That's the limited point I want to make.
And that's the point.
I'm not saying that, Dr. Ranganathan. I just want to take 2 seconds from this precious show that exceptions are always there. All accused are human beings, but all human beings are not accused of a particular crime. Like we have seen in the Bilkis Bano case, it's a direct example of hate crime, and her family has been brutally murdered but because of their religion only. But in 80% cases, religion has no role to play. Like we have seen this case on which we are doing discussion. They know each other since last 3.5 years, and even police has ruled out that there is any motive because of religion.
No, we're not talking about this case, and I don't think Dr. Ranganathan was referring to this case. He was generally speaking about your comment where you said, oh, let us not look for religious motives behind crimes, because there have been so many lakhs of crimes in India, this, that, the other. Unfortunately, some crimes are determined by identity, others are not, and that's a fact. My point is, we should equally ask and interrogate those crimes and the facts around those crimes with equal persistence. We can't blindside one and allow the other. So you talked about Bilkis Bano, for example. Now there was a crime about identity. There were certain a terror group, sir, and the members of that terror group have been freed by our very altruistic judicial system and our bleeding heart liberals who sit in our political circles. And then they also went and did jappis and gave them flowers. These people waged war against the Indian state, and there was definite identity behind it. But sir, we will question the relief given to the Bilkis Bano, rightly so. Bilkis Bano, one minute, let me finish, sir. I'm not speaking over you, let me just finish. The Bilkis case you will talk about, but the clemency that was given to X or Y or sought by X and Y will not be talked about. So that's the problem.
Let's have a debate on it.
No, of course, we would love to, and we've had those debates.
Express my views.
Yeah, but Ehtisham Sahab, those debates never end up in anything constructive. Uspe bhi hum jhagad.
But still you are trying, Rahul, I must say that you always try to raise these kinds of core issues, and all Indians are watching you and they are learning from you, and people like Dr. Ranganathan.
Tonight viewers, and I'm moving on because there's a lot others, there's been a massive development in the Supreme Court also, but I think viewers, it would have been better had all the rights activists asked the right questions tonight, but they haven't. They've kept quiet. Now I don't know why. I'm not going to attribute motives. I'm going to take it in good faith. They're so stunned into silence that they can't bring themselves to say anything because the facts have chilled them to the bone and a certain inertness. I hope that is the reason, because if it isn't, then unfortunately Shraddha's life, which has been lost, is going to be lost in vain. These questions will have to be asked. Let's hope, viewers, we are not back tomorrow asking more questions of the banal kind. I hope that in the next 24 hours we really see a bunch of activists come out, shed aside their ideological blinkers, stop censoring themselves, forget about the identities here and ask those questions that need to be thoroughly debated. Thank you. Thank you, viewers, for being patient here, and thank you, panelists, for putting your perspective forward. I want to move into this next debate, which is an important one. The Supreme Court, viewers, has finally, a few months ago, it was also in a sense of sort of denial, if I may, and if the lordships don't shut me down. But a few months ago, when a PIL was filed in the Supreme Court, a bench headed by Justice Nariman said, oh, these PILs about conversions, there are more. There are less public interest and more. There are more private interest and there are more publicity interest and all of that. And I think J.Sai Deepak is with us and he will shed more light on the inconsistency here. But nonetheless, for whatever it's worth, Mr. Ashwini Upadhyay, who's been quite a dogged pursuer of the innate, inherent hypocrisy in the way some of our laws, especially secular laws, so-called secular laws, have been formulated, has gone once before again to the Supreme Court and talked about the menace of forced conversions, and finally good sense has prevailed and the Supreme Court has said yes, they constitute a clear and present danger, a menace that is hurting Sabka Saath in New India, it is hurting national security as well as, viewers, the national interest. The Supreme Court called it a very serious issue. The top court said forced conversions affect, as I said, the security of the nation and the freedom of religion and conscience. Not mincing any words, the court asked the centre to step in, warning that if it's not stopped, a difficult situation will emerge. Now, viewers, in the past when the centre, especially the BJP government, has said, look, we need to bring in stricter laws, there's been a massive brouhaha. People have said, oh my God, this is once again a saffron conspiracy. They're dreaming up things to spread panic amongst the majority community, make them insecure, and therefore invite some sort of a backlash. But finally, at least that debate is being constructively engaged in the Supreme Court. And I want to bring in, on this matter, Sai Deepak, advocate who does appear in the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken. Sai Deepak, Mr. J.Sai Deepak, suddenly we have the Supreme Court now setting aside some of its own observations in the past, and I just quoted one to you, and has recognized this reality, and it is dawned even on the Supreme Court, oh my God, this is constituting a security threat. First of all, explain why there has been a difference in stance within a period of about 4 or 5 months, and what is the Supreme Court actually alerting us to?
So, Rahulji, the thing that most people don't understand about the Supreme Court is that as an institution, it's not a monolith, although we see it as a monolith way too often. And there are as many Supreme Courts as there are minds in the Supreme Court in terms of judges. That's typically how the institution functions. Which is why sometimes there is a very clear difference of opinion between two members of the same bench or two different benches. But the larger point being, the latest position of the Supreme Court, at least going by its observations in this particular matter, are consistent with the decision of Reverend Stanislaus, which you had the opportunity to share with your viewers a couple of days ago. In fact, earlier this week.
Yeah.
And in that, when the question of right to convert as a fundamental right was being discussed, the one thing that they categorically say is that untrammeled conversions, especially mischievous conversions, have a direct bearing on law and order, and that there is a serious harm that is caused in terms of public safety. That's a question that therefore the Supreme Court has already put to bed and that has a certain sense of finality. It might interest you to know that certain evangelical organizations have put out on their websites publicly that it is one of their stated goals to dislodge this particular judgment of the Supreme Court and get it to review its own position and to ensure that right to convert becomes a fundamental right. They have said so as much on their own websites for public consumption. Now, the one thing that I have to draw your attention to is Dr. Anand Ranganathan's statement on the last debate on this issue, which I have to agree with for a significant reason. If you happen to subscribe to a particular faith system whose focus and locus of loyalty is outside this particular country, and it also teaches you to hate your own ancestors and their own faith systems, it significantly alienates you from your former co-religionists to a significant extent. And therefore, it becomes a part of your nature and your psyche to hate your past and your collective past. That's been the unfortunate reality, and that's the unfortunate reality of all those people who were converted at the peril of the sword in this particular country during the medieval period, and that's exactly the population that you're currently dealing with in different parts of the country. But most importantly, allow me to say this, you know for a fact, and I'm sure people from the security services will vouch for this, that the border alongside, let's say, Bangladesh is heavily going through massive illegal immigration as well as conversions, which has effectively translated to an alteration of the demographic balance in that particular place, which is never good for a country like India, given its neighborhood and given its history. So whenever we discuss these issues, independent of the historical track record of this particular country and what it has been subjected to, it's always easy to say, oh, this is minority victimization, oh, this is abandonment of secularism, so on and so forth. But when you take the larger picture into account, this is a reality. So therefore, that is one aspect. But the other aspect is, in the south, especially in places like Kanyakumari and Tuticorin districts, forget unveiling the statues of Hindu deities. You can't even unveil Bharat Mata statues anymore in some of these places, because apparently that is Satan worship. And here the heavy hand of the evangelicals is very, very clear in some of these districts, especially in the south of Tamil Nadu. So it's not something that is limited to one particular mindset. Unfortunately, Bharat happens to be the battleground of let's say, of contestation between two expansionist mindsets which wish to expand their territories and demographic base at the expense of the native faith system. That is the unfortunate, politically incorrect position.
Well, let me bring in Mr. Chaudhary of the Congress party. Yet the Congress, even the Supreme Court flags this, but whenever there has been talk of bringing stricter measures like the anti-conversion bill in Karnataka, you have said it's been brought to humiliate minorities. The anti-conversion bill is a political strategy of BJP, RSS. Now the Supreme Court says to the centre, do something. Mr. Chaudhary, will you object even now? Is the Supreme Court also blinded by RSS, BJP political strategy?
No, Rahul, you know, the point of debate today happens to be from the Supreme Court's observation. And as a congressman and as a person from the Muslim community, I personally feel that it's a very welcome decision that the Supreme Court at least has come into the picture from...
Why wasn't it welcome on September 16, 2021 when the Congress party's MLA, Mr. N.A. Hassan, railed against the anti-conversion bill there, which had stricter measures, sir?
Rahul, you gave me just 10 seconds and Sai Deepak 3 minutes. So that's not fair. Please give me that much little bit of courtesy to let me finish my point out here. If you have invited me to the debate, please let me put across my point of view, then you can counter, sir. Point here is that, you know, the religious conversion in the country is itself a problem, right? Not from today, even Jawaharlal Nehru also acknowledged it. The point out here is that when the Supreme Court has begun to look into the anti-conversion problem in the country, it is going to frame some rules, regulations, some model law is going to be set up. I am very much confident about that. So all those BJP ruled states where there's partition anti-conversion laws are being set up, at least they will fall in line and the law will be equal.
Do you know who makes laws in this country? It's the business of parliament. Oh my God. Civics की भी आपने सर कर दिया.
Yes, of course.
Civics जो civics हम सीखते हैं बच्चों.
Some guidelines.
Sir,
that
Mr. Chaudhary, no one is going to set down guidelines.
Now, sir, the point is that.
Now, okay, I've heard you. Now, please, you see. When you tell one lie, you have to tell 100 to cover up.
Last point, Rahul.
Okay,
now,
sir.
Another
facile point. बोलिए।
No, just one point. The point basically out here, you criticize conversion from Hinduism to other religions, but you do not criticize those Ghar Wapsi programs that are being held. This is also hypocritical. So I believe the next law that is going to come here, a model law, the parliament will be setting up and all the states will get it. So the
point is,
must end now.
Okay, look, I'm running out of time. 30 seconds, Dr. Ranganathan. Not 3 minutes 30. He takes great objection to that. 30 seconds.
No, please give me a minute, because that's the time I would require to convert Mr. Kamru from illogic to logic. No, Rahul, there is bad news and there is bad news. Which one do you want first?
I don't mind. It's not a choice.
Okay. The bad news is that you can't do anything about this.
Exactly.
And the other bad news is that there is, as I said last time as well, and as I agreed and said, you have to take the bull by the horns. There is a very thin line between what is forced conversion by coercion and what is conversion. The problem is, I am not against conversion.
Exactly.
But who decides what is forced and what is not? And we can never be able to decide, because you look at those videos where, and there is the fundamental contradiction between one of the Constitution's articles, which is we must have a scientific temperament, and another article that says a man must be free to practice and preach his religion. There is a contradiction.
Yeah.
So if you do not admit that what is being preached is miracle cures and millions are buying into it, is that not forced conversion, or is that what
inducement?
You say that happened in the religion itself because Jesus walked on water?
Absolutely, it's an inducement. You see, viewers, look, let me tell you, it doesn't help when certain political parties become obstacles to any form of reform just because they have vote bank pressure. Now the Supreme Court has said it, so it must be right, of course. 6 months ago when the Supreme Court said the opposite, it was right. Now again it is right. I don't know what the bad news is anymore, what the good news is. I'm leaving it at this. The supreme news is out. Now let the debate continue. Let's see what reactions come in. I leave it at this. tonight, viewers.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for Indonesia to attend the G20 summit. Bilaterals including meetings with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and French President are on the cards. Court postponed the Gyanvapi verdict to November 17, says 2 more days needed for preparation. Karnataka Congress Chief D.K. Shivakumar faces ED in New Delhi today. Just over a week ago, his brother and MP D.K. Suresh was quizzed by the ED on the same issue of donations made to Young India Trust.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेमामान
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए कल रात की सावन का बनने नहीं देंगे। आप दिमाग में सबको ऐसा डाल के रखेंगे फिल्म स्टार ही बनेगा। आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेमामान
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए कल रात की सावन का बहुत अच्छी बात है।
आपका क्या विचार है इस बार? आप
मेरा विचार क्या मैं बताऊं? मेरा विचार भगवान के ऊपर है। लॉर्ड कृष्णा विल डू इट।
तो मैं तो देश की सेवा के लिए ही पैदा हुई हूँ और मैं देश की सेवा करना चाहती हूँ। और क्यों नहीं हमारे मोदी साहब, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी चाय बनाते बनाते प्रधानमंत्री जी पीएम बन सकते हैं। तो मैं बॉलीवुड में काम करते करते
Welcome to the Newshour. I'm Aftab Gopalakrishnan. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of classic crime thriller that you often spot on OTT platforms. A sick person is capable of going to the extent of not only murdering but dismembering their near and dear ones without flinching his or her eye. This is exactly what happened in the national capital. Aftab Amin Poonawala not only killed 26-year-old Shraddha, with whom he was living for over 3 years, but he also chopped her body into 35 pieces. He took the brutal step only because Shraddha was putting pressure on him to marry her. But how did he do it? Shraddha fell in love with Aftab and eloped from her home after her parents disapproved of her relationship with Aftab. In Delhi, they worked in a call center for a multinational company and lived in a rented apartment in Mehrauli. In May, an argument over marriage turned fatal for Shraddha. Over the next 18 days, Aftab disposed of her body piece by piece. For 18 days, he was in the same house where the body was kept. He kept the body, the pieces rather, of the body in a 300-liter refrigerator, which he brought just a day after the murder. He used to step out of the house at 2 a.m. and dispose of the pieces in Mehrauli forest. To counter the stench in the apartment, he kept the body pieces in a chemical solution of formaldehyde. He would light agarbatti or incense sticks. Aftab was adept at using a meat knife as he was a trained chef. This case has elements from fictional stories in the show Dexter, in which the protagonist, who is a forensic expert, leads a parallel life as a vigilante serial killer. Here's a special report, or rather we have reports from Delhi as well as Maharashtra. Let's listen in.
The murder happened in mid of May, as of now what we have. Then gradually what the boy did was he chopped the body to pieces and stored them in fridge. And later on, with time, over months, he disposed of the body parts in various parts of the area.
As per the initial investigation, what is the motive that you have been zeroed upon?
The motive currently what we have is that it was a live-in issue basically. They had a relationship fight and this thing got out of control and he killed the girl.
हमारे ऑफिसर ने सब उनका लड़की लड़के का दोनों का मोबाइल डिटेल्स बैंक डिटेल्स सब एनालिसिस करके हमें मालूम हुआ कि वो दिल्ली में रहने वाला है, उसका वहाँ का लोकेशन है। आफ्ताब को बुलाया, जो अभी हमने तांत्रिक जो मोबाइल तांत्रिक विश्लेषण किया, आफ्ताब को यहाँ बुलाया था और यहाँ बोले उसको ही पूछताछ किया, लेकिन उसका हर टाइम में स्टेटमेंट उसका वेरिएशन था। तो हमारा ऑफिसर उधर दिल्ली गया था, वो ऑफिसर ने उधर वहाँ पे जाके भी उनका वापस एक बार लोकेशन वहाँ का एड्रेस वेरीफाई किया।
This is house number 93, Chhatarpur, gully number 1. This is where the incident took place. These are the visuals from inside this area. He strangled her, cut her into 35 pieces, kept her pieces in the fridge on a stand. You can see right there, that is the area where the fridge used to be kept and pieces of her body used to be kept by Poonawala.
This is the fridge in which the dead body was stored for 15 to 18 days. As of now, the accused is in police custody. Further investigation is taking place.
Shraddha murder case are quite gruesome. These are the visuals from Mehroli area of the national capital where accused Aftab Poonawala used to dispose of the body of his lover here 2 a.m. every night. By far, police has recovered 12 to 13 pieces of Shraddha's body from this place only.
और देखिए यहाँ पे ये बिल की कॉपी है, इसी बिल की कॉपी आप देखिए कि यहीं से जो है इसने यहाँ से वो 260 लीटर की फ्रिज खरीदी थी। ये देखिए ये फ्रिज जो है, इसी फ्रिज की एक वैरायटी को उसने यहाँ से खरीदा था। ये डबल डोर की फ्रिज है 260 लीटर की और इसी फ्रिज की वैरायटी को उसने खरीदा था। तकरीबन 25,000 रुपए जो है उसने इसके कारण इस फ्रिज के लिए पे किया था। क्रेडिट कार्ड से बताया जा रहा है कि उसने पेमेंट किया था।
The neighbors and friends of Shraddha are in shock. Listen in.
रहते तो कई महीने से हैं, पर हमने हमेशा लड़के को ही आते जाते देखा है, हमने लड़की को कभी नहीं देखा। लड़की कभी बाहर निकलती नहीं थी आते जाते। यहाँ सभी बहुत एकदम शौक हो गए हैं कि मतलब इतना बड़ा कांड पड़ोस में हो गया और पता तक नहीं चला है, किसी को भी नहीं पता चला कि ऐसा कुछ भी यहाँ हो गया है।
बदबू तो नहीं आई, वैसे ऐसे आता था जैसे कोई जलने की, जैसे आदमी जलता है ना थोड़ा सा, ऐसे आती थी बदबू बालों से। क्या क्या पता हमने क्या कोई बकरे का मीट बना रहा, क्या बना रहा। हाँ आती थी थोड़ा सा, फिर हम कहते थे यही खाते अच्छी की बात है। लड़की शाम के टाइम कहते आती थी, बहू को पता ये कहती थी।
आफ्ताब और श्रद्धा के रिश्ते के बारे में अधिकतर सभी को पता था, लेकिन ये किसी को नहीं पता था कि ये चीज कभी जाकर एक मर्डर में तब्दील हो जाएगा। आफ्ताब के बारे में जितना भी जाना, आफ्ताब एक बहुत ही औसतन साधारण सा लड़का था जो कि किसी दिन इस मानसिकता का हो जाएगा इसकी आशा नहीं थी। श्रद्धा की गुमशुदगी की खबर हम सभी दोस्तों के बीच मार्च महीने से हो चुकी थी और उसके बाद से सब उम्मीद में थे कि वो जल्दी से जल्दी मिल जाए, और अब जब खबर आती है कि उसका मर्डर हो चुका है, वो भी इतने एक संगीन तरीके से, तो दिल दहल जाता है। अब क्योंकि ये खबर हमारे फ्रेंड सर्किल की है, खबर सुनने के बाद दिल दहल सा गया है, डर सा लगने लगा है। पता नहीं है किस पर भरोसा किया जाए, किस पर नहीं, कौन है जो प्रेमी रूप में आएगा और फिर शायद जान ले जाएगा।
When Times Now confronted Aftab, he didn't speak a word. Listen into the sequence.
आफ्ताब क्या हुआ था? You can see that Aftab did not speak a single word. Times Now did confront Aftab, asking what was the motive, why was he arrested, why did he murdered his female friend. आफ्ताब आपने क्यों किया है? आफ्ताब कब से जानते थे आप श्रद्धा को? आफ्ताब आप कब से जानते थे श्रद्धा को? आफ्ताब आप श्रद्धा को कब से जानते थे? आफ्ताब आप श्रद्धा को कब से जानते थे? आफ्ताब हत्या क्यों की ये तो बताइए। आफ्ताब मोटिव क्या था? आफ्ताब आपने क्यों किया?
All right, we have more exclusive details as far as this particular investigation is concerned. Priyank Tripathi has been breaking every twist and turn as far as this story is concerned, and very important, the police is going to record Aftab's confession on camera if required. They're also saying that they don't believe in his confession and that Aftab sat on her chest and strangled her. That's how the murder was carried out. It's a well thought out and planned murder. So Priyank, this is very, very important what you're breaking for us at the moment. The fact that it was a well-planned murder. So was then the fact that Aftab brought her to the national capital. Is that also part of this larger plot? If he had murdered her and had pre-planned it, had thought of buying a fridge, etc., was that all part of an elaborate plan of this killer, Aftab?
Yeah, certainly, Madhav, and that's what cops have been asking Aftab, because everything which he has been saying is suspicious and dubious. So if you look at the statement which was given by him before the Mumbai police, Maharashtra police, or there also he kept on changing his statement. What officials who are privy to the investigation have been telling us that this man has been playing very smart. That's why they will like to record his statement before the camera, because there's no denial about the fact that he can also go and change his statement whenever the matter goes to the court. Not even that, it's a very tough and tedious task for the police officers to gather evidence, because they are talking about a 6-month-old evidence, crime which has happened, and the body was disposed of. So far, they have not been able to find the skull of, Shraddha, which was also thrown by Aftab. So what we are expecting that early morning tomorrow, once again the cops will be taking the suspect to the location so that other pieces of the body can be found. But the manner in which he sat down on the chest of Shraddha, he strangulated her, he dumped her body initially in the washroom area, and later to that he slept in the house, and next day he bought the fridge and body was chopped into pieces. If you calculate, Madhav, so far he had stayed with the body for around 432 hours, so that's approximately 450 hours time period for which he stayed with the body of the victim, the deceased, who was love of his life. So talking about the conduct of this particular person, cop will have to gather every forensic information, every forensic detail and evidence which can be against him, because he has been changing his statement very frequently.
All right, thanks so much, Priyank. We'll continue to track all details as far as this investigation is concerned. One can only begin to fathom the gruesomeness of this crime with every detail that is pouring out minute by minute, hour by hour. Thanks so much for joining us with that update.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 1, on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us. With us is Mohandas Pai, chairman of Aryan Capital's. Gargi Nandiroy is a political analyst. With us also is Dr. Sumansi Raman, political analyst. Professor Atikur Rahman is a political analyst who's with us. Tehseen Poonawala is another political analyst joining us on the panel. But I first and foremost want to go across to the lone police representative that we have, former DGP Punjab, Mr. Shashikant is with us. Mr. Shashikant, as these details are emerging, it appears to be a diabolical crime that has taken place, because now the investigators are even telling us that even the murder, which we initially thought this morning was a act of a crime of passion, something that happened perhaps in the heat of the moment, in the middle of a fight, now appears to be a pre-planned act.
Yeah, that's what it appears, that it was a pre-planned thing. It's a sad thing, a gruesome thing which has happened, but I'd like to add a few sentences here. Whatever lessons I have learned from my life in the police department 40 years odd or so. We have seen, well, that when the consenting males want to be friends or want to go in for a living, we can't do nothing wrong about that. They have got all freedom. But invariably we have seen that there are problems, and the worst part is that the neighbors, who are supposed to be the eyes and ears of the police, law enforcement, they also just a blind eye towards it. In this instant case, like I was listening to your show, they were saying that, yeah, there was a fight and there was something burning and this and that. This is about the time. And here I think that we have been, in service, we have been talking to the women welfare bodies also. I think they have to, because this is something which falls in their purview. They also have to think about it slightly out of the box, which doesn't interfere in a person's freedom and everything. Yeah, consenting males fine about it, but I'm shocked about it, and more so that this was there body was there for 15 days and nobody could see the change in the behavioral pattern. There's always a change in the behavioral pattern of the person who does this kind of thing. Right. I'm surprised that nobody notices it. Shocking, gruesome, and I think he deserves harshest of the punishment. And of late, I'll say last sentence, ever since the Nirbhaya case, this kind of things, I think they have not stopped. Right. They're increasing. They're always there. Something needs to be done about it. Thank you, sir.
Right. Please stay with us, sir. Let me quickly bring in Gargi Nandi Roy. Gargi Nandi Roy, we talk about crimes against women. We talk about the manner in which such gruesome acts have taken place. And I think Mr. Shashikant makes a very important point that attitudes have not changed to such crimes. We as a society, perhaps even the signs, for instance, her father's complaint very specifically says that there were signs that there was violence that was taking place in the relationship. She even left him and came and stayed with her family for a little while. Perhaps these signs, if others had taken note of, if the friends had taken note of who she complained to, perhaps things would have not come to such a pass.
Yes, Madhav. I think this kind of crime, which is called intimate femicide, where a woman is killed by her partner, I think globally it has happened, we have seen. And today our conscience is shaken, rarest of rare crimes, so he should be hanged. Having said that, Madhav, I want to talk of a larger issue. I think as parents, as teachers, even the youth of today and as a society today, we must reflect. Don't you think, Madhav, that as parents, we must inculcate the right civilizational values or ethos in our children so they don't behave in this manner? In schools these days, I think there have to be some teaching. We used to have moral science, but in this era of dating apps, schools should caution youngsters about the dating apps. I'm not talking about moral policing, don't think that, but about ethical relationship, about that your parents do so much for you, so when you leave the parents and go for one person, and youth should be told that for one person you should not cut off network with parents and all friends. And for parents also, Madhav, if a child goes away, you should be in constantly touch with the child. You cannot just leave her because you are angry. Imagine if the parents would have been constantly in touch with the girl, they would have visited her, they would have called her repeatedly. I think the boy would have been scared. He would have thought twice. And youngsters must be cautioned when you just go like this. And as a society, it is so indifferent. Imagine 16 days, 18 days, a person at 2 a.m. in the night is going out with a packet. Nobody notices. How indifferent, insensitive have we become? We just say, hame kya farak padta hai? Imagine a Muslim guy saying an agarbatti is burning. Nobody thought, why is a Muslim person burning a agarbatti? Kisi ko to question hoga. First you got some smell, which seemed to be a meat smell. Then agarbatti. Nobody felt that. Nobody. So people are not bothered. So I think it's a very larger question.
Gargi Nandi Roy.
Teachers.
Let me bring in others as well. Let me bring in others. Tehseen Poonawala is shaking his head. Tehseen Poonawala, there's so many red flags that there were, at least. You may not agree with some of them, but the point is that this is a crime that could have very well have been prevented. Perhaps it's very easy in retrospect, now that the crime has happened, to talk about it in this manner. But it is a fact that a little more care perhaps could have saved one life today.
No, I completely agree. My condolences to Shraddha's family. They've lost their daughter, they've lost their child, and that will never come back. So I hope justice is done swiftly, scientifically, and this guy is prosecuted and faces the most heinous crime. But let's be serious about the discussion. To say why is a Muslim person burning an agarbatti? My mom's a Muslim and she has agarbatti every day in the house. This is not scientific evidence. We have Mohandas Pai here. He understands technology. Technology can be used to sort out crime, but let's not get into rhetoric. Let's come down to two very important things. I agree with what my friend Gargi said. Technology plays a very important.
One of the reasons people should have been cautious. People should have कुछ तो दिखा होगा.
Okay, let him make his point.
Agarbatti is not a barometer. We have to use technology. Technology must be used correctly, and we have to see how we can safeguard technology. Along with that, sex education is extremely important. Consensual education is extremely important. We need to discuss these two things very, very openly with our kids, so that our kids are completely aware. Parents need to be in touch. But I have one point to make, which is a slightly macro point. You see, as a retired DG from Punjab rightly said that since Nirbhaya, these incidences haven't gone down. Now, Nirbhaya was a turning point in our country's history, and we had a massive revolution. We had the Justice Pharma report, etc. You see, what are the examples we are setting today? Let's look at 4 specific macro examples and then try and understand. There is a 6-year-old girl raped in Kathua. There is a rally removed in support of the rapist by a political party in Kathua. In Narodia Patia, as the accused of the Narodia Patia massacre is right now campaigning for his daughter. Bilkis Banu's rapists are out on interim bail right now. Have been removed right now. They are out. They've been scot free by the court.
So what are you saying?
Banu is not caught.
So what are you saying? You're saying that the governments have gone soft. You're saying governments have gone soft on these killers. Is that your point you're making, Tehseen? Okay, one at a time. I'll come to each of you. All right. Everyone has a right to their opinion. You made a point, sir. Okay, you made a political point.
The government has removed Ram Rahim.
Sir, listen to the response.
Banu's rapists are out. The other rapists in Naroda party are campaigning for the
don't politicize that. Like
one at a time. One at a time. We'll take the political arguments of both the sides. I don't want to. 1 second, Tehseen. You made your point, sir. Now let's.
Ram Rahim has raped a girl and he's out. He's a convict and he's campaigning. Is it justified? My heart goes.
Okay. You made your point. Mohandas Pai, your response to that. What Tehseen is saying is that in multiple cases, governments, and it may not be any one particular political party, the fact is that state governments and our system, our criminal justice system has so much of leeway. We talk about reformation that perhaps there's no fear of punishment. And that's perhaps why we are seeing these crimes taking place. That's the argument that Tehseen is making. How do you respond to him? Mohandas Pai.
Matadas, this is a heinous crime. Let's not politicize, please. Let us not give this kind of silly examples, just to politicize, drive away the attention. The key thing that we must remember is, we have a failed justice system in this country. Whenever there is a crime against women, we must have quick justice, courts must hear it, pass a judgment within 9 months, 12 months, and they must go to jail or they must pay for the crime. Even the Nirbhaya crime went on and on and on and on for so long. This crime also will go. Now we need to set up a special task force, SITs, Special Investigation Task Force, and appoint a special judge, a special court, so that justice is done quickly, so that it sends a message. And we must make sure that any crime against women in any part of the country, justice is done quickly, so that people understand that you cannot get away with this crime. Now, I don't think getting away with this crime was a motive for this. It was a different motive. It is heinous. But we must see that justice is done. As a society, we suffer from lack of justice. The biggest failure of a democracy over the last 75 years has been the failure of justice system. Let us fix that. After Nirbhaya, there were so many calls, so many things happened, but crime against women have not been punished. We are not seeing criminals put behind bars. We are not seeing quick justice being given. We have not taken the safety precautions. This is not a case about the safety precautions, but we have to deliver justice. Because justice may prevent 20-25% of such crime, because people may know they cannot get away with this, they will be caught. That may create fear.
Right.
But I don't know whether they can eliminate. All I can say is you can shed tears for this heinous crime, and I don't know what to do. This is brutal. This is gruesome. This is unbelievable. This is beyond the ability of any human being. This is. I won't say it's done by a beast. I mean, it's done by a crazy lunatic. So I think we must deliver justice. That's the only thing we can say. Quick justice. Set up a special judge, special investigation task force, and deliver justice quickly and send a message.
There are also those who have raised the question, and Sumansi Raman, you would have seen the comments coming in from particularly the BJP, where there are those who have come out to say that where are those who are outraged when it comes to incidents, gruesome incidents as they are, such as Hathras, but today that Candlelight Brigade or that Protest March Brigade is not out on the streets despite the gruesomeness of this crime. And they're asking a question as to why that's the case. Sumansi Raman.
No, I think, Madhav, that's a ridiculous argument. This has got nothing to do with faith. These are two people who were living together, and due to interpersonal issues between them, this has led to this completely heinous and brutal murder. Now, the point is, trying to politicize it doesn't serve any purpose. But the point that Tehseen made was very valid. I mean, what kind of a signal are we sending out? Some people who assassinated a former Prime Minister are now being not only released, they are being greeted with the distribution of sweets. And, the example of Bilkis Banu's rapist, which Tehseen mentioned, and I can add, Jayant Chaudhary going and garlanding those people who were released on bail for lynching. So I think that there is a certain element of laxity in the overall process. Whether it is for political gains, that is a different issue. But the point is, there has to be a zero tolerance policy. This is of course something which is so gruesome that it shakes everybody up. But even for the regular crimes that are happening, there seems to be a situation where it depends on which side of the political fence you are on, or the religious divide you are on, which will determine what eventually happens to you in terms of a punishment. And I think that is a very, very unfortunate part. I mean, politicizing something like this is as awful as it can probably get, because this has got nothing to do with the...
Quick response, Gargi Nandi Roy. Politicization of this is completely unfortunate, says Suman Siraman.
Yes.
Please respond to him.
Yes, but he also himself politicized. Both Tehseen and Sumanji, with all respect, politicized. He spoke about, yes, the Rajiv Gandhi killers are released. So why is the Congress in alliance with DMK, who are boasting, who are supporting? And secondly, Tehseen for no reason now brought the Bilkis Banu case. Bilkis Banu's case we are not discussing here, but the same Tehseen doesn't speak about Imrana's case. Now I have to politicize the Imrana, who was raped by her father-in-law, and there was a fatwa that the father-in-law becomes the husband and husband becomes son. Did Tehseen say anything about that? Bilkis Banu's case, immoral but not illegal. After 14 years, one can get a remission. So whatever happened legally, it can be highly immoral, I'm also saying. But why are you politicizing this issue when it is a gruesome criminal mind has worked and nobody saw the signal? Nobody saw that this boy was violent, or nobody saw that he is a control freak. He must have shown signs. The girl must have told the mother. Girl had told the mother, because the father wrote in the FIR, it is written in the FIR. So that is we are discussing, Tehseen. It's a very much a social issue. So don't politicize, and we have to talk like this. Which I don't want to.
Quick response from Tehseen, yes.
For the Imrana case, her father-in-law, can I please speak? For her Imrana, her father-in-law, Ali Mohammed, we were one of the people who went to every single legal help to help Imrana. That guy is rotting in jail 10 years. If Ali Mohammed is released, I will myself go there and slap him. But the fact is, Ram Rahim is out, and it's been justified by a political party. Bilkis Banu's rapists are out. Nobody is removing a rally supporting Ali Mohammed. We first putting Ali Mohammed in jail.
Okay.
The fact is,
all right, we have some breaking news coming in. We have some breaking news coming in. We have the friend, one second please, we have a friend of this girl Shraddha, Lakshman Nadar, who has come out and said that they were worried that Shraddha had actually told him that she might get killed if she continues living in that house. We had rescued her once but never informed the cops since she didn't want that. Shocking revelations coming in. Listen it.
So ये बात है लगभग अगस्त से मुझे ऐसा चिंता होने लग गई कि ये अभी लास्ट 2 महीने पहले उसने कांटेक्ट किया था, उसके बाद अगस्त का महीना हो गया, अभी तक उसके साइड से कोई रिप्लाई आया नहीं, मेरे किसी भी टेक्स्ट का रिप्लाई आया नहीं, फोन स्विच ऑफ आ रहा था. So that is when it became a point of concern for me कि I should actually start reaching out to people and ask whether okay. So मुझे दूसरों को, मेरे फ्रेंड सर्कल में कॉमन फ्रेंड्स है, उनको मैंने पूछना चालू किया, एंड देन लेटर ऑन मैंने फिर किसी से भी कोई मुझे अपडेट नहीं मिला, तो फाइनली मैंने उनके ब्रदर को बता दिया कि ऐसा है. लास्ट मेरा उनसे जुलाई में बात हुआ था, उसके बाद से आज तक मेरा उनके साथ कोई कांटेक्ट नहीं हो पा रहा है. सो इट्स बेटर दैट वी रीच आउट टू कॉप्स एंड चेक सीक फॉर देयर हेल्प. कि
वो दोनों में क्या झगड़ा होता था क्या?
बहुत झगड़े होते थे.
क्या बताते थे आप?
यहाँ तक कि एक बार ऐसा भी झगड़ा हुआ था जब उसने मुझे व्हाट्सएप पे ऐसा मैसेज करके बोला कि प्लीज यहाँ मेरे घर पे आ जा, मुझे बाहर लेके जा, अगर आज रात को मैं इसके साथ घर पे रही तो ये मुझे मार डालेगा. ऐसा भी झगड़ा हुआ है उनके बीच में, और हम दोस्तों ने मिलके उसको उसके घर से उस दिन बाहर भी निकाला था, और आफ्ताब को वार्निंग भी दी थी कि हम पुलिस के पास जाने वाले हैं. बट उस टाइम पे श्रद्धा के कमिटमेंट्स को या फिर उसके जो बातें थी उसको रिस्पेक्ट करते हुए हमने बोल दिया कि इसको हम पुलिस में नहीं कर रहे, बिकॉज उसने मना किया.
All right, very, very shocking revelations coming in there. Perhaps, it is because of Shraddha's own insistence that the friends didn't go to the cops. But I want to quickly bring in Professor Atikur Rahman. You're hearing these details, so many red flags, so many incidents that have taken place. Friends going and rescuing him, warning Aftab even. This is a pattern of violent behavior that should have really set off alarm bells ringing. That didn't happen, unfortunately, Professor Atikur Rahman.
So Madhav, there are so many lessons we can learn from such incidents. And as you played this particular clip of the friends knowing that she was undergoing some torture. So this brings to light the arguments of the retired DGP when he said that the civil society is irresponsibly acting as far as the policing and reporting to the police of such barbarity comes to. Important points here are, Madhav, that rather than politicizing, what we should demand is a quick justice, as Mr. Mohandas Pai said, and along with it, what Tehseen and Mr. Suman C. Raman is saying, without pinpointing any of the past incidents, what we expect from the elected leaders, from the home ministers of the states, that they need to be very strict as far as these incidents are concerned, whether it is Bilkis Bano case or any other barbarity against women. The people who are under oath, they need to lead the society, which they are not doing. Sorry to say this. And when we point out this, we are accused of politicizing such matters. Why? Barbarity against anybody, and especially the women, is a crime and a heinous crime. A fast-track court demands justice. Justice should be delivered.
All right. You want to respond to that, Mohandas Pai, that ultimately this is not about any one political party. It's about us demanding, answers from those who are the political leaders, who are the political masters, who really have the ability to even change the legal architecture. If perhaps, our legal system is being too soft on those who are carrying out or perpetrating heinous crimes, perhaps it's time to get much tougher.
Madhav, I agree with you. The political system has not worked to make sure that the law is executed. They have been lax. They use the law to their own political advantage. And it happens both sides, all sides, Madhav. The candlelit thing was a disgrace. This Bilkis thing is a disgrace. They're all disgraces. We can never support crime against children, against women under any circumstances. Anybody doing that should be punished very severely, and justice should be meted out fast. That's what we should demand. And if any political leaders try to justify it or honor this kind of people or say anything in the support, we should criticize them and pull them up. And these political leaders have failed to deliver justice to the people of this country. We suffer from a lack of justice. Our courts have let us down. Our courts have let us down because the courts are not taking this seriously. Even the Supreme Court should insist the special court should be set up and justice should be done very quickly, because if justice is delayed, justice is denied, and that's been happening for very many years. And I think it's time that the courts step in, the political leaders step in, citizens become much more strident and demand justice. What is lacking is justice. Can justice prevent crime? No. But can they reduce crime? Maybe yes. And I think we should be vigilant. This is a disgrace for all of us, and it creates fear. And we have to deliver justice. That's the only thing we can say. Deliver justice urgent.
Right. Mr. Shashikant, I want you to quickly comment on this point in terms of justice delivery mechanism, and particularly why, somehow there is the remission itself, while it may not be illegal, the fact is that people such as Ram Rahim, who are accused of heinous crimes, are out there. They're out there very conveniently during an election. But the point is that even in this particular case, you're hearing the friend come out and give so many red flags. The father complained over 6 months ago, and yet it took 6 months to solve the crime. The Delhi police have solved it finally. Of course, kudos to them for that. But perhaps it's 6 months too late, many would say.
Yeah, I'll say that yes, I agree that our criminal justice system is in shambles. But I got surprised and shocked when there's such a gruesome thing and some people try to take a political or some other benefit out of it. That's again equally shocking. And in this particular case, I just want to send a message to the families, all the families they are watching. They should always be on the lookout for the signals. Whenever there's any gruesome crime or any crime is going to take place, there are signals, broad signals. If anybody in a family fails to see them and take cognizance thereof, I think that situation is going to be really bad. And again, like you rightly mentioned, that political system, whether it's Ram Rahim or anybody else, if you've got power, you've got politics, well, they can do whatever they want to be. But again, that's shocking. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's the larger point that's being made. Yes. All right. Suman C. Raman, you want to come in? Yes.
And I have a point from Madhav.
Madhav, yeah. Look, there's also the issue at a societal level of us having become a completely self-centered and inwardly focused society. I mean, we couldn't care less what's happening literally in our neighbor's place. 25-30 years ago, in an apartment block, almost everybody knew everybody else. Today, you don't even know the names of those who are living in the neighboring apartment. So I think that is something that we need to work on, because I think the more and more self-centered, and it's a generational thing as well. I mean, the earlier generations were not that self-centered or obsessed with themselves. But now it's I, me and myself. They are the three most important things for me in the world. And I think that what happens outside the confines of literally their own door is something which many people don't know, and quite frankly don't care. So it's quite possible that the neighbors may not even have known this boy or the names of the couple who were there and so on. So I think that's a larger problem, which I think we are looking at everything as pure law and order. That alone will not solve or prevent cases like this. It may help you to create a deterrent by solving it and giving quick punishment. But to prevent it, I think we need to look at other aspects as well.
Quick closing comment from you, Gargi Nandi Roy. Larger questions of society also that come up with when this kind of a macabre incident comes to light.
Yes, Madhav, I started with this, if you remember. I started my points, I want to talk about the parents, teachers and society at large. And you were talking about signals. If somebody is a killer like this, of course he had bitten up, he must have control. So of course we must be cautious about that when you are in a relationship. And Madhav, I'm stunned, 16 days. The person was going out 2 a.m. in the night with a packet. What about the security there? Nobody noticed or nobody cared to notice. I said in the beginning that society at a large, we should reflect today when our conscience is shaken that a daughter of India is killed such brutally. And one last thing I want to say, that this case should not go on and go on and go on for years. It is open and shut case. So
well, there should be. Well, certainly everybody will be watching. The long struggle that Nirbhaya's parents had to go through to ensure justice is done is perhaps a case in point. Despite it being such a high-profile case, it took over 8 years for it to finally see the logical conclusion. We'll have to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on debate number 1. Now, the debate over honouring Tipu Sultan in Karnataka is back in focus after Congress MLA Tanveer Seth vowed that he would install a 100-foot statue of Tipu Sultan either in Mysore or Srirangapatna. His party leader Siddaramaiah supported the move, saying doesn't Tipu deserve it. The Congress says that the youth of the country needs to be reminded of Tipu's contribution towards the freedom struggle. First, let's listen in to what Tanveer Seth said.
अगर टीपू सुल्तान शहीद रहमतुल्लाह अलैह का 100 फीट का ऐसा पुतला बनाने की हम कोशिश करेंगे.
The Congress MLA statement triggered a war of words between the Congress and the BJP. The BJP reminded the Congress that Tipu was a tyrant who butchered hundreds of Hindus, and those who support him will be sent home by the Janta. Listen in.
Madly bidi papa. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಡಿಸರ್ವ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಮಾಡಲಿ ಬಿಡಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡಲಿ, ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿರೋರು ತನ್ವೀರ್ ಸೇಠ್, ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡಲಿ. ಅವರು
ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಲಿ, ಯಾರು ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಂಬಲ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಮತ್ತು ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಜನ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮನೆಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us with us is Captain Ganesh Karnik of the BJP. Anurag Naidu, author, is with us. Also with us is Aslam Pasha, spokesperson of the JDS. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, also joins us. Let me start with you first, Syed Aslam Pasha. The question that is being asked by the BJP is that this is also a person, while he may have very well fought the British, and there's no two ways about it, it's a recorded piece of history, but the BJP also says that he was someone who has a track record of brutality against Hindus and Christians, and perhaps that's why he shouldn't be celebrated in this manner. Your response to him?
Madhav, first of all, let me tell you, Tipu Sultan is the tiger of Mysore. Tipu Sultan is the martyr of our nation. Tipu Sultan is an able administrator. Tipu Sultan is the one who has helped the women, who has helped the Dalit women to regain their respect. Tipu Sultan is the person who has helped the scheduled caste people to regain their respect. Tipu Sultan is the pioneer of rocketry, and there is mispropaganda. There is a propaganda against Tipu Sultan who talk about he is against Hindus. Let me tell you, the Sri Ranganatha temple, he has given land to build Sri Ranganatha temple. He has given 4 silver bowls weighing half a kg. And let me tell you, whoever is telling Tipu Sultan is against Hindus, let me tell you, whoever
Does that take away?
Whoever is saying Tipu Sultan.
No, these are all very laudable things.
The Marathas, no, Madhav, let me 30 seconds. When the Marathas attacked the Sringeri Mata is considered as one of the dham. Out of the 4 dhams of Hindus, one of the dham in south is Sringeri Mata. It is Raghunath Rao Patwardhan. Under his command, the Marathas plundered and destroyed the Sringeri Mata, the Shraddha Pita. It is Tipu Sultan who reconstructed the Shraddha Pita of Sringeri Mata.
Okay.
And if anybody says that Tipu Sultan is against Hindus, it's a wrong propaganda.
Okay.
Nationalists.
Okay, you made a number of points, sir.
Pseudo-nationalists.
You made a number of points. Now, Mr. Pasha, please calm down. Listen to the other side as well. I want Captain Karnik to come in on this. Yes, Captain Ganesh Karnik. Your response to Syed Aslam Pasha.
Madhav, good evening, and good evening to all the panelists. Number one, why this issue has been taken up by none other than a former Minister of Congress. I have few questions for the Congress. Let them openly come and admit that Tipu Sultan fought only the British to save his kingdom. Number one. He had nothing to do with the freedom movement at all. Number one is that.
Oh, is it?
Number two, Tipu Sultan and his father, Hyder Ali, they were earlier employed by the Mysore dynasty, and by cheating them, by backstabbing them, they took over the, Mysore dynasty. Somebody talked about the good governance. All the good governance that happened in Karnataka was by the Mysore dynasty. There is nothing to say that Tipu has done something good for the country or the state. The other point is, which you brought out very clearly, that the Christians, the Hindus, the Kodavas were brutally murdered, massacred. There is a place which is called as Tipu Fall, where people were filled in gunny bags and thrown down and killed. And he was responsible for destroying almost all the Hindu temples. Some symbolism which my colleague is mentioning, it was only in distress he has done it. When everything was going against him, he tried to appease. And all that presents he has made is the present which he looted from the Hindus. Even the temple desecration stands as a example in Srirangpatna today, where temples were converted into mosques. And moreover,
Mr. Pasha, nobody interrupted you, sir. Sir, please. No, Mr. Pasha, this is not fair. Let him make his point. He has as much of a right to make a point as you did. Nobody interrupted you. I'm allowing Mr. Karnik to make his point. Please, let him finish first. Yes.
Who talk about erecting a statue in memory of a cruel king of this state on the eve of a statue for Kempegowda is being erected. Kempegowda was a noble king. Today, what Bangalore is today, it is only because of Kempegowda's contribution. Throughout the length and breadth of this state, Kempegowda is respected and recognized as a benevolent king of this state.
Okay.
So, on the eve of, Kempegowda statue is being unveiled.
Right.
Talking of, Tipu Sultan by comparing him with Kempegowda. It is absolute rubbish and nonsense. Nowhere in this state a statue for Tipu Sultan will be allowed to be erected either in my.
All right, you're trying to equate. All right, this attempt to equate Kempegowda with Tipu Sultan is a non-starter, says Captain Karnik. Please respond on that point, Aslam Pasha.
Madhav, first of all, there is no question of equating Nada Prabhu Kempegowda with Tipu Sultan. We have huge respect for Nada Prabhu Kempegowda, and it is the BJP which is trying to bring in that false narrative here. When you talk about Tipu Sultan, there are so many wrong facts which Mr. Karnik has brought in now. Mr. Karnik, can you deny the fact that in Kerala, the Nayars and the Nambodaris, right, they never used to allow women to wear the clothes on their chest? It is Tipu Sultan who has helped the women to regain their respect. It is the upper caste who never allowed the Dalits to drink water in the well given by
Absolute nonsense.
You
Tipu never did all
what
that.
Absolute rubbish. There is a gazette in the...
Tipu's Jalana, you talk of Tipu's Jalana and the women he captured and kept in Jalana.
You have no information. You have not read history. Please read the history
written by people like you.
It is there
You have
in the
not
gazette.
gone and lived there. You have not
The
talked to
Dalit
the
women
Nayars.
were not
You have
allowed
not
to
talked
wear.
to the
The
Nambudris
Dalit women
of
were not allowed to
Kerala.
wear clothes on the upper body. It is the upper caste men who used to take tax. It is Tipu Sultan who came to Kerala and he punished the Nayars. He punished the Namboodiris and he allowed the women to regain their respect.
One second, Mr. Syed Aslam Pasha, even if that is indeed true, one second, let's just now answer my questions now. Just calm down and answer some questions. Yes, Mr. Karnik, I'm coming to you. Is it not a fact that Tipu Sultan murdered about 700 Mandya Iyengar men, women and children in broad daylight, and that too on Diwali? Isn't that a documented fact? Well, and also the fact that if Tipu Sultan is a freedom fighter, what kind of a freedom fighter is this? Who's killing 700 people? Also, the Mangalore Christians have accused in the past that Tipu Sultan has been whitewashed because the ruler forcibly converted the ancestors to Islam with his decision of celebrating Tipu Jayanti. So clearly, isn't it an insult to all these individuals whose ancestors have been so brutally butchered or converted?
There is a place called Netar Kere. A Kere means a lake. Netar means blood.
Can I answer
There is a lake in
question
Mangalore where Christians were murdered and put in that lake. That became Netar Kere. And there is a place called Tipu Drop in a place called Gadaikal. Where people were taken and they were dropped from there.
Any ruler will have a punishment.
Small issue.
It was not a democratic India at that time. Any ruler, any king will have a capital punishment.
Dictats. Tipu Sultan was a cruel king. He killed people, he converted people, he destroyed temples. There is no way you can erect a statue of
He is cruel against...
You go to Kodwas, in Melukote, they don't celebrate Deepavali even now.
He is cruel against the people who used to torment the Dalits.
Okay.
I have a simple question to you. But in every, Mr. Karnik, I have a simple question to you. Mr. Karnik, I have a simple question to you.
Mr. Pasha.
When the Marathas attacked the Sringeri Mata in 1781,
let him go and ask why.
No, but Mr. Pasha, you're not answering my question. I asked you about these 700 Mandya Iyengars who were killed. What about those who were converted in Bangalore? You've not answered any of those points. Are those also factually inaccurate? Will you say that that's also factually not true?
Anybody who says Tipu Sultan is against Hindus is absolutely factually incorrect.
So what about all these butcheries? How do you explain him killing so many people?
Madhav, I would want you to visit all the forts built by Tipu Sultan.
No, he has built forts, he was in touch with the French for missiles, all of that is well documented, sir. But does that take away from the brutality of his regime?
When there is a war happening against the Marathas, obviously any king who is fighting against another king, there will be brutality in the war.
To fight against.
You're saying these brutalities are justified in the name of war? You're saying these brutalities are justified in the name of war, Mr. Pasha. What kind of logic is that?
Right. Now,
I mind you, several of these incidents took place before he went to war with the British.
Absolutely, you're factually incorrect. The numbers which are quoted about Melkote are absolutely incorrect.
What is the correct number?
Incorrect.
What is the number?
So I am asking one simple thing. When the Marathas attacked the Sringeri...
You're not answering my question and you're going on asking questions. Mr. Aslam Pasha, this is the problem. Let me bring in others now. Anurag Naidu. Anurag Naidu, I want you to come in and counter what Aslam Pasha is saying. He is of course not answering the questions of these brutal massacres which I just referred to, at least two of them. There are several others that I have over here in front of me. But at least, completely in denial of these massacres and at the same time saying that, look at his good governance track record. Can the two be separated?
I think, I think Madhav, Mr. Aslam Pasha is speaking more from a JDS standpoint today, and that's what is reflecting. And going by the words of Mr. Aslam Pasha, I think Tipu Sultan should be given some award which is above Bharat Ratna. And if we seriously feel that everything that we see in Karnataka is because of Tipu Sultan, I think then they should crowdfund and erect even a bigger statue than any other statue in Karnataka, and let the people of Karnataka decide what argument they want to buy in. entire length and breadth of Karnataka. You go to any district, any place, people will tell you the persecution done by Tipu Sultan on the Hindus and the temples that were plundered and brought down across Karnataka and some stretches of Kerala as well. So it is, I mean, even a kid will tell you that. But if you're for a political gain, you want to pitch in a narrative and try to, bring somebody or glorify somebody without any substance and, covering all the brutality that was done. And we've seen hundreds, you're talking about one temple or two temples, sir. We're talking about thousands of temples which were brought down, which were looted. And what about, because temples are essentially a structure of socio-economic, area of influence for every, area, and they have a big history. So attack on the temple is attack on the social fabric of the Hindus or the community that lived there. So the impact that Tipu Sultan created by his actions were larger than, what we are talking today. And nothing can take that away. If he wants to have, bring in a support politically for his party or, for an appeasement of one community, he is welcome to do that. It's for the people of Karnataka to whether buy it or not. And all these years we have seen nobody has bought into this argument.
Okay, let me bring in Tehseen on that point. Tehseen, you can't take away from the actions of an individual. Yes, it may have been 300 years ago, but the fact is that this is a very, very mixed legacy that this individual has. While there may be things that he has done in administration which are laudable, the fact is that his brutality and those acts of violence are also very well documented, and one cannot take away from that.
May I please bring some balance into the debate? If we put 21st century constitutional morality on a, say, somebody who has lived in 17th century, or for that matter, Emperor Akbar, who lived way before, and also Emperor Akbar killed his brothers. We know that in the war of Kalinga, so many people were dead. Then nobody will be great. I'm not defending Tipu, I'm not against Tipu. I'm saying we can't put in today's constitutional democratic morality on that path. Now, having said that, is Tipu Sultan an issue for people of Karnataka, Muslims of Karnataka in particular? No. And I think, being a Congress supporter, it's stupid that the Congress is bringing it up. Why would you want to play on the BJP's political pitch? The BJP is a 40% Sarkar commission. Their government is going to go, why are you getting into a debate? People's good, bad, ugly, great. BJP is losing the election. Can we stop getting out of this debate? Muslims in India, in Karnataka, do not care about these issues. They want education, jobs. My advice to the Congress is please focus on that. Do not fall into the muck of the BJP, because in the muck only the lotus will bloom.
All right, please respond to that. Captain Ganesh Karnik, I think there is a point over there, Tehseen, although there is an issue, Tehseen, in that Mr. Aslam Pasha is not even accepting that. He's not even talking about constitutional morality or the wrongs of Tipu Sultan, and that's where there is a bit of a problem. But Captain Karnik, it's wrong to equate what happened 300 years ago and apply constitutional morality standards to what is very clearly a monarchy at that time.
I totally disagree with what Mr. Tehseen says. He's trying to shift the goalpost now. See, all those people who were killed, who were converted, did not happen during war. He went on a mission converting the people. He went on a mission killing people. He went on a mission destroying temples. If something happens during war, I agree. But this chap had one mission.
So didn't Emperor Ashoka do it?
He converted areas in Mysore and called them by Muslim names. Even today it is a testimony for that. Nazrabad and all kinds of baths. We are not talking about it. You are trying to glorify a tyrant. You are trying to glorify a murderer. You are trying to glorify a king who was basically aiming at conversions.
All right, quick response. Quick response. We almost have time. Quick response, Tehseen.
All kings have done it. Now you can sit here in the 21st century and we can say this one was good or bad, or we can see how in the next 50 years we can make our people progress. My advice strongly to the Congress is get out of this. Don't fight on the BJP's pitch. You will not win on this. The BJP government is going in Karnataka. They're a 40% bribery government. Throw them out. That's what the people of Karnataka deserve.
Okay. You tell whether Tipu Sultan was a bad king or a good king. Be on record at least.
Okay, let me bring in Anurag.
I think the present government needs to go. It's a bad government. The present government.
He's talking about politics.
All right. Let me bring in Anurag on that point. Anurag, very important point that Tehseen is making. He's saying that perhaps at some level there is a realization that this is not the battle which they should be fighting when it comes to the BJP, but the larger question that he made was of constitutional morality. Can we apply standards of today to what was happening 300 years ago?
I mean, basic standards, Madhav, will not change. Basic standards of humanity, basic standards of violence, basic standards of persecution, they would not change. I mean, I don't want to play, a balance, or I would not like to compare things like apples and oranges, but humanity is humanity. A murder is a murder. A life taken is a life taken. A institution like temples being attacked, a society is being attacked. Nobody can, it's black and white. And that's some BJP spokesperson said very fine. I mean, let's pick the sides. I mean, do you feel Tipu was good or Tipu was not good? I don't want to say it's bad and there's a limit to badness or there's a limit to his activities, but let's take some sides and let's not kind of try to dilute the issue. If you're talking Tipu, let's stick to this. And Congress, and somebody said, Congress should not pick this up and it's a 40% thing, but the whole battery of leaders, starting from Siddaramaiah to all the ex-union ministers from Karnataka, they've all taken a stand.
All right.
The battle lines are very clear.
Completely out of time. Captain Karnik, Anurag Naidu, Aslam Pasha, Tehseen Burawala, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on this second debate on the News Hour.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned. The News Hour at 9.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for Indonesia to attend the G20 summit. Bilaterals including meetings with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and French President are on the cards. Court postponed the Gyanvapi verdict to November 17, says 2 more days needed for preparation. Karnataka Congress chief D.K. Shivakumar faces ED in New Delhi today. Just over a week ago, his brother and MP D.K. Suresh was quizzed by the ED on the same issue of donations made to Young India Trust. A PIL was mentioned in Calcutta High Court for removal of TMC Minister Akhil Giri as a minister. This after his controversial comment on President Murmu. Meanwhile, Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has apologized on behalf of Giri. Rouse Avenue Court granted bail to Abhishek Boinpalli and Vijay Nair in the CBI case under Delhi excise scam, but both will remain in ED custody till November 19. Officials involved in the case of Satyendra Jain's VIP treatment in Tihar jail have been pulled up. The jail superintendent has been suspended for providing undue and illegal benefits to prisoner Jain. Rao's Avenue Court in Delhi reserves order in Dinesh Arora plea to turn approver. The court will pronounce order on whether he will be made approver on November 16th. Supreme Court dismisses challenge to Delhi High Court order that had refused to stay criminal proceedings against former AAP councillor Tahir Hussain. This towards 3 FIRs registered against him in connection with the 2020 riots.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए खतरा में
नहीं हेमा
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए जी कल रात की सावन का ऑल्सो बिकम सांसद बनना चाहेंगे उसको तो आप बनने नहीं देंगे आप दिमाग में सबको ऐसा डाल के रखेंगे फिल्म स्टार ही बनेगा आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए खतरा में
नहीं हेमा
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए जी कल रात की सावन का ऑल्सो बिकम बहुत अच्छी बात है
आपका क्या विचार है इस बार आप
मेरा विचार क्या मैं बताऊं मेरा विचार भगवान के ऊपर है लॉर्ड कृष्णा विल डू इट
मैं तो देश की सेवा के लिए ही पैदा
Good evening, hello and welcome. This is the Newshour agenda. My name is Pranesh. A first-year student of a business school in Hyderabad was thrashed, beaten black and blue, even harassed sexually by his own college mates. We are talking about Himang Bansal, who was forced to chant religious slogans by a group of students inside his hostel room on the campus of his college. As they rained incessant blows at the hapless boy, the attackers can be heard saying, "We'll fix his ideology, we'll beat him to coma." In a video that is so vicious that Times Now has decided to refrain from airing it in its entirety. The victim viewer says he was kicked in the abdomen, touched in his genitals and even force-fed certain chemicals. Such was the audacity of the perpetrators that they even threatened to dispose of Himang's body if he dared to raise his voice in front of the college authorities. Something that he anyway did 2 days later. But to no avail, the college chose to ignore his SOS and later when issue went out of hand, suspended all including Himang. Yes, Himang, who was under attack. The Telangana government said that the police... Let's play out reactions.
On 3rd also there is another incident which you don't know. It is also some guy again but by some other guys prior to the first incident, and also second case is also registered in that aspect and investigation is under progress. And in this aspect the gross negligence by the college management, TICFI people, they failed to act on the immediate day. We have already booked the college management under the Act 7 Class 1 read with 6 Class 1 Ragging Act.
The Telangana government said that the police acted immediately in the case. However, the TRS also tried to pin the blame on the BJP for the situation, saying it's the BJP that has vitiated the environment after one of its leaders made a similar remark against the Prophet some time back. Listen to this.
The moment this was brought to the notice of the police immediately swung into action, arrested the boys and have registered the case against them. This, in fact, mentality is being seen of late in our educational institutions because of the environment which has been vitiated in our country after the BJP government came into power.
Government of Telangana doesn't tolerate a single act of ragging in any educational institution. At ICFI yesterday, a LLB student was ragged and the Telangana police have immediately acted upon and have booked serious offences of Indian Penal Code, including Section 307 of attempt to murder and also under the Telangana Ragging Prohibition Act. But Bharatiya Janata Party should not bring communal issues in this also, because those who have been booked are irrespective of any religion. They have behaved brutally and have to be punished legally by the court of law.
आखिरकार वो जिहादी एक साथ मिलकर के उस बच्चे को मारने के लिए क्यों उतार हुए और अभी तक उसकी इतने दिन होने के बावजूद भी अभी तक उसकी गिरफ्तारी क्यों नहीं हुई उनकी? आखिरकार राज्य के मंत्री और मुख्यमंत्री इस पर क्यों चुप्पी साधे हुए हैं? क्योंकि मार खाने वाला हिंदू है। इस्लामिक जिहादियों को प्रश्रय अगर आप दोगे, हिंदू समाज इसको बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगा।
कैंपस में खून की तरह लंबे समय तक रैगिंग की वजह से कठिनाइयां आई। अब ये अगर फिर से ये सिलसिला शुरू हुआ है तो एक नज़ीर के तौर पर तेलंगाना सरकार को दोषी छात्रों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए, जिससे आगे इसकी पुनरावृत्ति वहां नहीं हो पाए।
देखिए, रैगिंग के मामले कई भाजपा शासित राज्यों से खुल करके सामने आ रही है, तो जो चीजें समाप्त हो चुकी है फिर पुनर्जीवित करने की जहां कोशिश हो रही है तो चिंताजनक है। ये नहीं होनी चाहिए। शासन को कठोरतम कार्रवाई भी करनी चाहिए।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's open this up. Dinakar Lanka, leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Sriraj Nair, the national spokesperson of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Krishang, spokesperson of the TRS, Khaliqur Rahman, political analyst, Atiqur Rahman, political analyst, and Saira Shah Halim is an activist, needs no introduction really. Now, good evening to all of you. Dinakar Lanka, I'm sure you heard the whole host of reactions. Is this a case of ragging, just ragging, as many are making it to be?
It is absolutely wrong. Telangana police try to divert the whole issue. It is very clear that forcibly the communal slogans was raised by one section against the Himank Bansal. We have seen videos of the evidence, very clear evidence what was happened. Unfortunately, these pseudo-seculars and the TRS, which is very good supporter of MIM, in this kind of communal way in which they want to divert the whole issue, they themselves, TRS leaders coming forward, they are giving some video clippings also. I have seen that. Who raised the communal voice? Prior to the investigation itself, TRS is trying to divert it as a communal issue, and the TRS is the government which is governing in Telangana. What BJP will do? BJP is not in governments. Law and order is the state subject. But conveniently these people are always blamed to BJP and they want to secure the pseudo-seculars. We have seen the incidents which happened in Baisa, where MIM should be restricted and where the MIM should be penalized by the TRS government. It not happened. That's why these kind of hand in glove approach of TRS government with MIM, they are trying to divert the whole issue towards the ragging. It is unfortunate. Himans is a boy. His future is going to be mortgaged by means of this political mortgageism is carrying by the TRS in favor of the MIM.
No, forget his future. Himans was almost dead. He was almost killed. Mr. Krishnan?
Yeah, yes. Incident when incident happened, when the police has come, What happened in between? The student is in
I'll
coma.
tell you, nothing happened. Nothing happened. The assault takes place on the 1st of November. These 2 pages, complaint letter written by Iman to the college authorities 2 days later on the 3rd of November. The first thing that the college should have done is to inform the police. The college did not do anything. Let's hear from the TRS spokesperson, Mr. Krishank.
Pranesh, my earnest request to the Bharatiya Janata Party is don't be so desperate for politics, bringing TRS and BJP into this, because BJP has jumped the gun probably from today or yesterday in these 2 days, trying their desperation to politicize this issue. But before the BJP, the Telangana police, the government, has booked the cases on the fort itself, on the top management, and at the same time on those accused also. And rightly said Pranesh, this we do not see just as a ragging act, because the section itself explains that 307 has been booked, which means we see it as an attempt to murder. So definitely government of Telangana, Telangana police do not tolerate such kind of brutal behavior, whosoever they are, whichever religion they are, because those boys, the names are out in open, irrespective of their religion, their act has to be condemned and they have been booked. So Bharatiya Janata Party, please stay away. Let government of Telangana and Telangana police do its job, which it has done much earlier than you are politicizing.
Okay, quick response, then I bring in the others. Yes, Mr. Lanka, quick response, 30 seconds.
It is absolutely nonsense. Why they are telling that BJP should stay away? We are citizens of India, law-abiding citizens of India. We have every right to expose the failures of the government.
BJP
the failure utterly failed. The local media, regional media in favor of TRS, those medias are carrying what kind of stories? Let you observe. It is absolutely unfair on the part of TRS, my counterpart, making such kind of comments.
We have the guts to book cases. You want to do politics in it, but we want justice to that boy.
You people, you yourself has raised
Mr. Krishank, you are talking about justice for Iman. How will Iman get justice? 1 minute. Krishank, Mr. Krishank, you are saying Iman should get justice and that your government will ensure justice. Do you know he has been suspended?
Well, I know the entire case. I have read the FIR. I have read the sections also.
Why has Himang been suspended?
More than that is the negligence of the college, and that is why the college has been booked too. Has the government or the Telangana police suspend? It's the ICFI which has suspended, and that is why ICFI also has to face the brunt. Telangana police has acted upon the college also. We are not sparing the college. We are not sparing the accused.
How can Himanshu get justice?
I believe.
He was college. You are not making single point against college. They have suspended Himanshu also from the college. You are not supporting Himanshu. You are not supporting Himanshu. That's why your two are coming out. That's why we are telling that you are standing firm of MIM.
Section 307. Do you know what is Section 307?
No, but is 307 enough? Sriraj Nair, the national spokesperson of the VHP, now coming in. Sriraj Nair, there are many who believe that 295 should have been pressed. That's not there in the FIR.
That's right, it is not going to be there in the FIR because the government is absolutely not to a 307.
The government is busy in appeasement politics. The government is trying to appease a particular community. The government is not going to do the way the CM is portraying leaders like Owaisi as calling them son of Telangana and portraying them as big leaders, people who openly threaten Hindus. This is what is happening in Telangana. Had this boy been a Muslim, things would have been very different. Today the biggest challenge what nation is facing is selective activism, and Telangana government is selectively acting. You rightly said why they have not involved. So here the issue is because the victim is a Hindu and they don't want to act. Had it been the reverse, had it been on the other side, had he been a Muslim boy, then the government would have acted faster.
Khaliqur Rahman, answer that question. Answer that question. Khaliqur Rahman.
Know who are the accused? Does the VHP leader know who all are the accused? Which religion accused are there? If you are making it a communal angle,
I have seen the names. I know who are the accused. Definitely.
So what do you want to? Why do you want to?
Let
why do you
whoever
want
be
to
accused.
help BJP
But
for
why
their
have you
politics?
not acted?
Save some
I know
grace
who are
for
the accused.
VHP.
Don't. Please don't.
Save some grace for VHP. Save some grace for VHP. Don't. You are not into politics.
Why
Don't
the
work for
BJP, the word
Don't
BJP
work for
is coming
BJP.
from the mouth of
See,
TRS when we are not
no,
talking
we are
about
not into
TRS.
our politics, but definitely we will.
about the Telangana state government again
And you are busy in appeasing the politics.
On a sufferer demand,
issue.
you want.
No, let's not talk over each other, please. 1 minute. Dinakar Lanka, 1 minute. Let me bring in Khalikur Rahman. Khalikur Rahman, you were nodding your head when Sriraj Nair said that, look, because Himant is a Hindu, he was assaulted, and that the state is soft on the accused.
You have seen it wrong. I wasn't nodding the head, but I was actually in a state of shock at the statement what the VHP leader was making. And let me tell you, the first thing what the BJP did immediately after this thing came into the media, they went allowed to take the complete political mileage out of this and to criminalize this issue. Little did they realize that our education institution. Let me complete, Mr. Dinakar. Let me complete. Let me complete. Let me complete. Why you are speaking, I did not intervene. Why you are speaking, I did not intervene. While you are speaking, I did not intervene. So please allow me to speak.
But you are unnecessarily using
No, Mr. Lanka, let him make his point. It's not fair on him. You asked him a question. Sriraj Nair asked him a question. Yes, Mr. Khalikur Rahman, go ahead, make your point.
Mr. Lanka, you must realize that this is a debate where all the civilized people are here. So let us not shout.
That's what
let us not shout. Let us not shout. Let us not shout. Let us not shout. We are all civilized people. We are all decent people.
Gentlemen, please, let's not get personal. Please, let's not trivialize this, please. Khalikur Rahman, make your point, sir. Please, make your point.
And the moment, it came into the media, the Telangana police has immediately swung into action, registered the case against those students involved in the brutal beating to the students there. And let us not bring the religion, because we have seen the students from different religious groups there. So it is not a Hindu or a Muslim case here. This is a case which I feel started just as ragging, but it was escalated to the brutal beating to the student.
It did not start as a ragging. No, 1 minute, Khalikur Rahman. Did it start as a ragging? No, what are you saying? Do you know how it began? Private chats. 1 minute, Mr. Rahman. Now, listen to my question, sir. I'll give you time to respond. Let me just correct you, sir. Let me just correct you. I don't mean to speak over you. I'm just trying to correct you. Do you know how this began, sir?
I know the complete facts. That's the reason you are not allowing me to speak.
No, sir. If you knew the complete fact, then you wouldn't be saying that it started as a ragging. It did not start as a ragging. This was pre-planned. This assault was planned to the T. And the reason I'm saying is, his private chat, Himant's private chat with one other student, I don't want to name the student, he has named the student in this complaint letter, that was leaked. The screenshot was shared with this group. They came together, called Himant to a room, and then assaulted him. Almost killed him. You are saying it began as ragging.
That is the reason why the police has booked the section 307, which is attempt to murder.
But sir, how did it begin? On the chat. A private chat that was leaked.
Absolutely. The private chat was leaked, but they went there since he was a junior student.
No, they went there to counsel him. They were counseling him in this video that we are running, or the screenshots we are running. They're counseling him like this. We will fix your ideology. What does this mean? What does this mean, Mr. Rahman? We will fix your ideology.
If you want to ignite that debate,
Mr. Rahman, sir, I am asking a straightforward question. Okay, you don't want to answer that. Atikur Rahman, let's try with you. When I say I want to fix your ideology, what do I mean?
Pranesh, in my capacity as a researcher of Islamic studies, I need to give this message to the entire Muslim community, especially the youth. Henceforth, if anybody speaks anything against my Prophet, the Prophet of Islam, or the Quran, tolerate. Do not take law into your hands. Don't create violence. Don't be brutal, and provide mercy. This is the message of Prophet Muhammad. He never reacted in a violent manner against his most, immediate detractors, his enemies. His way of was pardoning his enemies. This is the clear message in the Quran. Even Allah calls Prophet Muhammad to create mercy against his detractors, his enemies. The lady who poisoned Prophet Muhammad was pardoned by him. Let this message go clearly to the society. Don't create violence. Mercy the Prophet stands for. This is the message in the Quran. The law should be taking its own course. If you are harmed, if you are dislodged by any comments against Prophet Muhammad, call the police, register a complaint, and hand over this person to Islamic scholars, the exegetes, who will explain what the Prophet
I don't think Khaliqur Rahman agrees to what you are saying. He wants to say something.
No, because see, the student just did not say, he did not just say Allah Akbar. He first said Jai Mata Di, then he said Allah Akbar. So that is, no, he first said Jai Mata Di, then after that he said Allah Akbar. So what I am trying to tell you is, let us not communalize this, because these are the students.
Okay, let us not communalize. Sriraj Nair, is there an attempt to communalize? Why are you doing it? That's the question.
See, Pranesh, first of all, there is no question of communalizing. Such a incidents happening in such a premium business school, that itself is a sorry state of affairs. The second part is, the government of Telangana has been busy in appeasement politics, which is only thinking of the forthcoming elections, and the government has already started appeasement politics. I am only saying, had the victim been a Muslim, things would have been very different. The action would have been much faster. Today also we appeal, strictest action should happen, and all the perpetrators should be behind the bars. The action should have been faster, but that has not happened.
No,
I am still reiterating. The government of Telangana is busy in appeasement politics.
Why are you saying no? Atikur Rahman, why are you saying no?
Mr. Nair, allow me to speak. Yeah, because I will be, in favor of providing mercy to this fellow. Let me explain the correct position of Prophet Muhammad to this student Himansh. He needs to be corrected. Whatever misguidance he is having.
These students who got together in a hostel room, they did try their best to correct him. They said, we will fix your ideology. But fortunately, Imam survived. Saira Shah Alim, I want to bring you in.
See, you are
as an academician, as a neutral observer, as a political analyst, or forget all of that, as social commentator, ma'am, what do you make of what has happened?
Okay. So I think this act is completely reprehensible, because I believe in the adage, I think it has been attributed to Voltaire, that I might not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to my death your right to say it. Now, I'm treating once again that any kind of violence, lynching or beating or ragging in the form of religion, is completely abhorrible. You might not agree with what a person said. However, you cannot take law in your own hands. And ragging, when it's been clear, it has been abolished, it has been totally brutal. How this boy was ragged and harassed and beaten up by these gang of boys, I think they should be pulled up, and the severest punishment should be meted out, so that we set out a very strong example in society that ragging in any form, be it any community, be it any caste, be it whoever, it will not be tolerated in any varsity. So I think these institutions must make bullying foolproof and ensure that no child is ragged. And in case somebody is misdirected, there's always counseling. You can always, take the route of taking advice from elders, taking advice from seniors, and being totally neutral and avoiding any kind of communal kind of slugfest, especially in colleges.
Okay. Saira Shah Halim says counseling. Now, you were raising your hand, Atikur Rahman. What is it that you want to add?
See, Pranesh, the students who have, committed a crime of taking some kind of a revenge on this fellow, they should be punished. But not this fellow who has, argued about the Prophet. Because, if he is having any misgivings related to Prophet Muhammad, he should be explained what exactly Prophet Muhammad stands for. Ragging should not be allowed. No tormenting of such fellows. Of course, harsh punishment is for the people who ragged Himansh. I am saying that there shouldn't be any action against Himansh. But those who took the law into their hands, these students should be punished. And there is a message for such Muslims from me, that whoever speaks henceforth against the Prophet should not be dealt with harshly. He should be explained that the Prophet stands for mercy for mankind for all times to come. Let the correct message go to the people, to the society, Pranesh.
How will the message go? Will the government ensure that in Telangana, Mr. Krishan?
Absolutely, and the government has ensured it also, because India and our state Telangana also runs by the Supreme Constitution and the laws of the land.
Just allow me
the
to
laws
come
of
in.
the
You are
land,
saying that the
Pranesh.
government has ensured it. Now I'll tell you what's wrong with that. The act of booking the college is clearly an afterthought. Till about this afternoon, Times Now was questioning why the college has not been booked. The police did not book the college. The college got to know, if they did not know already, of what happened with Himang on the 3rd of November through this letter. Now,
Pranesh, on 4th November, Telangana police booked, and I think till then Times Now also didn't run it. So I think Telangana government knows its responsibility, Pranesh. We have been acting on it, on the perpetrators, the raggers, and at the same time institution too. So I request, see one thing, IPC's most severe are 302 for murder, 307 for attempt to murder. So I think it's clear that we have seen this case more worse than ragging. Absolutely, Himang has to get justice, and for that, please, BJP, don't use Himang for your elections or for your politics.
Mr. Lanka, stop using Himang for your politics.
It is the politics. Krishank always speaking about the BJP instead of expressing his concern about the Krishank, Himansh. He was suspended from college. Till now, TRS hasn't made any comment to withdraw the suspension as far as Himansh is concerned. He is not speaking about it. Who is creating politicize the whole issue? Who is creating it as an issue? It is creating as a communal issue by TRS. Not BJP. Where BJP has made it as a communal issue. It is the failure of the TRS government when they told that they acted in time. Why this much of long gestation of period happened to take action against the college? What about the college management? It is the professional management college. In such college itself,
Mr. Lanka, are you alleging? Mr. Lanka, let me get this straight. Are you alleging, Mr. Lanka, are you alleging that the college tried to cover it up? And the state is trying to protect the college. Is that the charge of the TRS government?
Act hand in glove, showcasing it as a ragging case instead of it is attack, assault, and beaten a single individual by group of people. They tried their level best to satisfy their friendly partner MIM.
Even before social media,
instead of resolving the issue, they always try to show the finger towards the BJP. It is the failure of the TRS. They want to conveniently cover up their failures, but we are not.
Mr. Krishan, how will you answer those who are saying that the government is hand in glove? And like I said, booking the college was an afterthought or looks like an afterthought.
प्रणेश, अगर हमें कवर अप ही करना था तो सबसे पहले बीजेपी के भौंकने से पहले, मीडिया के डिबेट से पहले केस क्यों बनता था? अगर कवर अप ही करना था तो केस ही नहीं रहता था ना. केस हमने करा.
But Mr. Krishant, let's first of all, let's be civilized in what we say. Bhokna, katna, let's not get into that, sir. Please, please, because if the clip of this debate is leaked, no, 1 minute, 1 minute, sir. Don't use this kind of language here, please. You are on national television, Mr. Krishant. Please, I have great regards for you. Let's not do this, please, Mr. Krishant. Please, let's all be responsible and civilized in what we say. This is not responsible commentary. Please, now 1 minute, Mr. Lanka, 1 minute, Mr. Lanka. I have the FIR copy also. I have the FIR copy. The date is 11th. No, 1 minute. This happens on the 1st. 1 minute, Mr. Krishant, this for you. You are saying, you just said that this was done. The police had taken cognizance on the 4th.
I have a request to you, Pranesh. See, we are also pained, Pranesh, with this witch hunting, one issue in the college, even if the government of Telangana, even if the Telangana police puts up serious cases also, this regular debating and BJP comes in, they try to put, we are seeing the scrollings on your times now. Why is KCR silent?
No, we should stop the debate because the TRS is hurt. People can die. They can be beaten to death. Krishant, no, we should stop debating. We should stop debating.
Is it democracy?
You should debate.
Please come out from hypocrisy.
Ensuring that it does not happen.
KCR as well as the leaders are feeling as hypocrisy.
Let him answer, Mr. Lanka. Let him answer. Yes. Let's talk about the FIR. This happens on the 1st of November. Let's talk facts.
Yes.
The assault happens on the 1st of November.
Yes.
Himant writes a letter on the 3rd. Okay.
3rd he has written.
The date on the FIR is 11th.
Yes. No. 4th, we have taken cognizance of the case, and in fact it is the police, it is the DCP in his press meet who has also mentioned, which even the media did not know, Pranesh, after the press meet, that there were 2 incidents on the 1st and 3rd also. How did someone get to know? Did any correspondent of any national channel show it?
But Mr. Krishant, the police had to act after the clips went viral on social media.
No.
Because if the police had taken cognizance on the 4th, why was the FIR registered on 11th?
See, after the case was booked, 4th, we have taken the entire evidence. The police has gathered a lot of evidence. We have put
4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 7 days. 7 days to register an FIR.
Sir, I can tell you that they want to divert, they want to suppress the facts. But it was not happened due to the media. Now they are changing their colors, they are telling stories. That's why they have taken this much of...
Sriraj Nair, come in.
When you have...
The case is registered, if we were to believe what Mr. Krishant is saying, that the look... No, 1 minute, sir, let me get in the others also. Sriraj Nair, Krishant is saying, the police acted with alacrity, took cognizance of the case on the 4th. But the FIR, you see, was filed on the 11th because we were doing our due diligence.
Exactly. So that is what we are saying. The government is busy in appeasement politics. Had the victim been a Muslim, things would have been different. Now I am telling you, in Kerala also, Professor Thomas is professor whose hands was chopped by jihadis. The professor was suspended.
This is a
similar case. Why was this boy suspended? In Kerala, please,
who suspended
Mr. Krishant, in Kerala, if you remember, the CPM government suspended the professor whose hands were chopped by the jihadis, and you did the similar stance here. Why did you suspend that boy? You didn't take action at the appropriate time.
What foolish nonsense is this? Do not manufacture lies. Do not manufacture lies.
What foolish? Definitely, you have not acted. You are busy in electoral politics.
You cannot
You are
lie.
busy in
You
appeasement
cannot lie
politics.
on a national
You are
channel.
just seeing the elections
Give some
that are
respect
coming.
to national
You want
news.
to ensure that you retain your government.
and
That
your
is the only thing you are
BJP
seeing.
are manufacturer
You
of lies.
people are absolutely
Absolute lies.
encouraging terror
Who
and
has suspended him?
jihadi terrorism.
That institution
You
has
are
suspended.
indirectly or directly promoting jihad and terrorism.
You liars just want politics on the name of that poor boy.
What liar?
Okay, who's lying about the FIR? 1 minute. 1 minute. Who's lying about the FIR?
You cannot hide your You don't care about justice.
Who's lying about the FIR?
All you want is votes. All you want is politics.
Khaliqur Rahman. Khaliqur Rahman.
You people are. That is why you are portraying.
Khaliqur Rahman.
Leaders like
If the police had taken cognizance on the 4th, why was the FIR filed on the 11th? Do you want to add to what Krishank has said?
Absolutely, because I fully agree with Mr. Krishank. The police collected the complete evidence and then the police registered an FIR. And do you wanted the police to just register an FIR without, collecting the evidence? That is the procedure which the police follows. The BJP, I think, should know the procedure.
Oh, this is the procedure
and
you
also
see.
the police.
A student is beaten to pulp, almost killed. The videos go viral.
You want to divert the whole issue. You want
The videos go viral and the police is taking more than a week to file the FIR.
Then only police came out. They had
Now, Mr. Lanka says that this was an afterthought.
Mr. Khaliqur Rahman.
This was an afterthought because the videos had gone viral on social media. The police had no other option.
Not supporting Himansh. College has suspended. You are not giving any support Himansh. You are not alerting the college remove the suspension. Victim is suspended. You are not speaking about that.
You are not trying
That itself is denoting your colors. Your true colors are coming out. DRS true colors are coming out. Victim has penalized double. Already he is a victim and once again he was suspended from the college. What is your stand? Let you tell.
Okay, we are running out of time. The last word on the show to Krishank.
Suspended. What was his fault?
Pranesh, my earnest request is, to Pranesh, I know BJP, they want to do politics, but here, we want justice for Himang. This Telangana government, in fact, our DCP also has said, they have visited to that college earlier also. Government of Telangana's ragging posters are there in every college. We have conducted series
But this,
of
Krishank, you
sessions
come
there.
back to ragging again. This is not ragging.
This
Because
is not
every time you
that
say
is not-
ragging,
Yes,
every time,
this is
Mr. Krishank, every time you say ragging, someone will say, do you know how it all began? It began with the leaked WhatsApp chats of this man,
Pranesh,
Himang.
I will also
So let's
ask-
not
I will also ask-
let's not
Pranesh,
play it down so
okay,
much.
Pranesh.
This is not ragging.
Those 15-20 students, all of one community, all of one religion, all the 15-20 students.
What
all
is
the
this?
15-20 students are
What-
of one
what-
religion.
what was
This is a
Himang
straight
forced to
question.
chant?
This is a straight question.
What was
All
Himang
15-20
forced to chant?
students, all the 15-20 students who have beaten up Himang, are they of one religion?
All right.
Are they of one religion?
What they demanded? What they
Nevertheless,
demanded Himansh? People
all
like
the
you might be involved.
are they
People
one
like you might be
religion?
involved. Those who are
Atikur Rahman, I won't be able to come to you. We've run out of time. I thank all of you for joining us on debate number 1.
Please use.
Viewers, what goes on in the mind of a man who claims to be so in love with a woman that he moves cities to be with her, even without a job in hand, to then strangle that person to death while she is asleep, to dismember her body into 35 pieces and to dispose them one at a time over 18 days. After being in a relationship for over 3 years, Aftab Poonawala and Shraddha Walkar were supposed to be in love, but when Shraddha asked him to marry her, and then a story that should have ideally ended in a lifetime of happiness ended abruptly and brutally. Shraddha's dreams literally chopped into pieces, and his supposed life partner, reportedly even on the day of murder, ate in peace with her body lying around him, ordering food from an online app even as she lay dead in the same house, in the same room. The depravity doesn't end there. Over the next course of fortnight, Aftab went about disposing the remains across Delhi. Here is what happened.
This is house number 93, Chhatarpur, gully number 1. This is where the incident took place. These are the visuals from inside this area. He strangled her, cut her into 35 pieces, kept her pieces in the fridge on a stand. You can see right there, that is the area where the fridge used to be kept, and pieces of her body used to be kept by Poonawala.
This is the fridge in which the dead body was stored for 15 to 18 days. As of now, the accused is in police custody. Further investigation is taking place.
Shraddha murder case are quite gruesome. These are the visuals from Mehroli area of the national capital, where accused Aftab Poonawala used to dispose of the body of his lover here 2 a.m. every night. By far, police has recovered 12 to 13 pieces of Shraddha's body from this place only.
और देखिए यहाँ पे ये बिल की कॉपी है, इसी बिल की कॉपी आप देखिए कि यहीं से जो है इसने यहाँ से वो 260 लीटर की फ्रिज खरीदी थी। ये देखिए ये फ्रिज जो है, इसी फ्रिज की एक वैरायटी को उसने यहाँ से खरीदा था। ये डबल डोर की फ्रिज है 260 लीटर की, और इसी फ्रिज की वैरायटी को उसने खरीदा था। तकरीबन 25,000 रुपए जो है उसने इसके कारण इस फ्रिज के लिए पे किया था। क्रेडिट कार्ड से बताया जा रहा है कि उसने पेमेंट किया था।
Now, while the disgusting details of this crime can send chills down the spine, the BJP thinks there is lack of justifiable outrage on the matter, a charge that opposition plays as just a bit to communalize a despicable crime.
Left liberals, Khan Market lobby, Newton Delhi lobby, and yes, ladki hu lad sakti hu, are silent. They are not uttering a word. Is it because the girl is a Hindu and the boy is a Muslim?
डूब मरना चाहिए भाजपाइयों को। लानत है भाजपाइयों तुम पर कि बेटियों को बलात्कार करके मौत के घाट उतारा जा रहा है, टुकड़े किए जा रहे हैं, और इसमें भी आप धार्मिक रंग लेकर आ गए। इसमें भी राजनीति लेकर प्रियंका गांधी जी से पूछ रहे हैं। प्रियंका गांधी जी राज्यपाल हैं, प्रियंका गांधी जी मुख्यमंत्री हैं, प्रधानमंत्री हैं, गृह मंत्री हैं। क्या है प्रियंका गांधी?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's open this up. Srinaj Nair, national spokesperson of VHP, stays on. Karan Verma, author, political analyst, Saira Shah Halim, Shahid Ali, lawyer on the panel. Sriraj Nair, I want to begin by asking you a straightforward question. Just 4 or 5 words. Why did Aftab kill Shraddha?
See, we have been pleading the girls, we have been creating an awareness about love jihad, and this girl is not the only girl. If you see, look at the incidences, the similar incidences over last 2 years, there have been n number of incidences where girls fall in love with this kind of jihadi elements, and they they get killed, and some are some are in the suitcases, some are thrown in the sea. In Mumbai last month only, I stay in Mumbai, a girl was dumped in the khadi, in the sea. So this has been happening, and we are trying to create an awareness. And even today, while on your channel, I appeal to all the Hindu girls, please don't fall in the trap of these jihadis. You will end up your lives in suitcases, you will be burned, you will be chopped. This has been a phenomenon which is happening, and the liberal, the so-called Khan Market gang, the so-called bindi clad activists, so-called selective activists, they all are living in a denial mode, and they don't want to accept the reality. But the reality is this, that a Hindu girl is not safe. If she falls in the trap of a love jihad, she is going to be barbarically butchered.
Shahid Ali has his hand up, he wants to respond.
Her
Shahid
only
Ali.
mistake is she fell in love with this jihadi.
Shahid Ali.
I am really surprised
And I always wonder that from what kind of mind these people have who thinks from that angle. In everything they find the communal angle. The murder is ghastly. This is the ghastly murder. Now the murderer, whosoever has done the murder, should be punished. Severe punishment should be against him. He should be hanged. Instead of going on to that, instead of asking the police to investigate properly, why they are finding the love jihad and all kind of things. We have seen many cases. We have been conducting the cases.
Absolutely.
Where a Muslim girl was murdered. A Muslim girl had committed suicide.
How long
since
you have been denied
since she was teased by Hindu boys.
listen to
So, please don't see Hindu Muslim angle in everything.
Okay, don't see Hindu Muslim in this, says Shahid Ali. Let me read a reaction coming in as we speak. BJP's Ram Kadam, 1 minute gentlemen, 1 minute. BJP's Ram Kadam has put out a tweet and I am quoting now: Justice for Shraddha. I request Delhi police to probe if the brutal murder of Shraddha was a conspiracy, was accused forcing Shraddha to convert and hence torturing her. Did she refuse to convert? Is this why Shraddha was murdered? Shahid Ali.
So I think this gentleman must have been living with them. So therefore he was aware of. Now the couple had moved from Mumbai to Delhi on account of the fact that the parents of both the parties were against their marriage. So if there would have been this marriage angle, the complaint would have been lodged by the girl who had stopped the girl to make that kind of complaint. From where these persons are getting this kind of slanderous allegations? Now, please
Karan
stop all these things.
Why are you jumping the gun? Why are you making these slanderous allegations, as Shahid Ali says? Why are you making it Hindu-Muslim?
No, Pranesh, I am against making this Hindu-Muslim as of now, because the details have yet not come out, and let's not jump the gun and let's be sensitive, because what has happened is brutality of the most gruesome order. I do feel there is a selective outrage, and there is, please let me speak, there is a selective outrage by a pseudo-secular brigade. I understand that. They do not outrage as much as they normally do when the perpetrator is a Muslim. I am aware of that. But I don't want to make this a Hindu-Muslim issue, because that will not solve the purpose. I think largely this is a topic of relationship counseling, which is a must today. How people have completely lost their minds and why do they descend to such madness is what needs to be addressed today in colleges and institutions. Pranesh, I visit a lot of colleges and universities, and I can tell you this: people are in serious need of counseling. They are in a dark space where they are not communicating as much as they used to.
Karan Verma, you are saying there is lack of... Karan Verma, you just said there is lack of outrage. Would you elaborate on that? Why do you think there is lack of outrage?
There's lack of outrage. I do feel, as much as it pains me and as much as I don't want to politicize it, I do feel that when the perpetrator happens to be from a certain community, there is selective outrage by the left pseudo-secular lobby in our country. So that is something which does hurt me, but today I want to look at a larger issue. I want to address the fact
let's
that
address
we
the question
are
you
in a
raised. No, 1 minute. We'll look at the larger issue also. Karan Verma, hold it there. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Atikur Rahman Saab, would you like to take that question? Sure. And then I'll bring in Saira Shah Alim. That there is lack of outrage because of the identities involved.
I agree with Karan. On so many points he had made. But outrage and no outrage does not count, Pranesh. What I have learned from the other debate on the same issue on Times Now is, she was complaining to some of her friends, and the friends took the things too lightly. So this is a blot on the face of the civil society.
Friends are responsible, you see.
When a woman complains, No, not responsible, but the outrage which should come and the concern which should come from the friends, relatives and the larger civil society. Even a DGP was there on the other debate. He also pinpointed this, that the civil society does not, complains to the police when they hear that the neighbors, the immediate neighbors, even they could not, pinpoint, some of the movements of this youth. So this is a blot on the civil society, that why we do not take help from the police or complain regarding such matters.
Shraddha,
the policing lacks.
What are you doing about
because
that?
the civil society fails to
Sensitizing
bring it
the
to
civil
the
society?
notice of the police.
See, imagine a scholar speaking this language where indirectly he is justifying this act, blaming his friends, civil society, but not condemning this jihadi act. I have a list wherein how Hindu girls have been barbarically butchered. In last 6 months, I am reading out Swati in Ajmer killed, chopped her head, neck. Neha, November 2020. Nisha,
Pranesh,
Kirti Jain, Neelam Hariwar, Ekta, Sonam Shukla, Anjali Arya, Kashish. All these girls, similar sort of, they have met similar fate. They have been killed, barbarically butchered, packed in the suitcase or thrown in the sea, and this is a regular act. So that is why on your national channel I am warning Hindu girls to be aware of these jihadis and not fall in this trap. Definitely this is Hindu-Muslim and this is an organized crime. Somebody is backing. There are red cards to trap Hindu girls and eventually kill, or if they don't convert, kill. So this is happening, and
so there's a larger, okay, you see a larger plot. Okay, Atikur Rahman wants to come in and then I'm bringing in Miss Halim. Yes.
Mr. Nair is well within his rights to make aware of all the Hindu society that there are predators in our society. He may be communalizing, people must be blaming him for, but he is within his right. I agree. All societies must take care of their youth, what they are doing in and out. The policing must increase. No need to communalize, Mr. Nair. Let us hope that the civil society is taking care of such things in future. What as a responsible citizen you should pass on the message is no further
thrown.
Sir,
and you are talking,
okay,
this is not strange incident. This is a regular phenomenon. Any girl, Hindu girl marrying a Muslim is meeting the same fate. This is not the one-off single incident. This is not a strange incident.
Can you make some positive comments? Can you make some positive comments saying that
a list of nearly 45 girls.
Today, tomorrow,
No, Shraddha Nair, make a positive comment, says Atikur Rahman.
Not be repeated, Pranesh.
Think of something, make a positive comment.
What positive comment? There is no, what positive comments you are expecting? How many girls will meet the same fate? What kind of positive comment you are expecting from me? I am absolutely saying every parent should ensure that their girls are safe. They don't fall in the trap of a jihadi Muslim lover who is into this is an organized crime. There are red cards. They want to trap the girls. They want to convert.
Karan Verma has his hand up. Karan, do you have a positive comment to make on this?
This is an organized way.
No, I actually have. Pranesh, I agree with the fact that love jihad has been a malaise. I agree partially on that point with Mr. Nair. But in this case, I don't think the individual masqueraded or concealed his identity, and let's wait for the facts to come out. Let's be sensitive here, Mr. Nair. Let's address the issue today that there is a communication breakdown in our society. Here the parents knew that their daughter was in an abusive relationship. The girl was going back to a person who was abusive by nature. How have these toxic relationships plagued our society?
Let me ask then,
that is something that we need to address collectively rather than being divided on it.
Right. Miss Halim, you've been listening to this intently.
Okay,
what
let me come.
Prompts this depravity?
Okay, so firstly, this is an absolutely heinous and a gruesome act. and the perpetrator of this very, very vile murder needs to be punished and meted out the strictest punishment. So my heart goes out to Shraddha, and it is completely reprehensible that she was cheated in this manner. And I would like to add another thing. Let the investigation agencies do their job, because we don't know right now what happened in between. Was it premeditated, or was it a crime of passion, or what was it? It anyway was a very, very deranged act. It is absolutely horrific and reprehensible, especially the way this girl was cut into 35 pieces, body, different parts of the body, thrown in different corners. It actually shakes you to the core. And I think instead of making the debate or putting a religious angle to it, we need to look at it as a criminal case. It is a complete criminal case. It is too early to say whether there's a religious angle or something involved, because I've seen like a few things that is floating on Twitter and on internet, that this boy was supposed to be this women's activist or whatever. That is what is floating on Twitter. So right now what we need is more information about what exactly happened, what transpired, what made this man turn into a criminal, because it is obvious that it was a consensual relationship, and they were in a relationship for 3 years. It was not a short time, and he did not hide his identity.
Okay, let's see how this case unfolds. Let's not jump the gun. We have at least a consensus on that. Sriraj Nayak, Karan Verma, Atikur Rahman, Saira Shah Alim, Shahid Ali, thanks for joining us on debate number 2. Taking a quick break. Lots more lined up on Times Now. Priya Behel joins you next.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break. Hour at 10.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for Indonesia to attend the G20 summit. Bilaterals including meetings with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and French President are on the cards. Court postponed the Gyanvapi verdict to November 17, says 2 more days needed for preparation. Karnataka Congress Chief D.K. Shivakumar faces ED in New Delhi today. Just over a week ago, his brother and MP D.K. Suresh was quizzed by the ED on the same issue of donations made to Young India Trust. A PIL was mentioned in Calcutta High Court for removal of TMC Minister Akhil Giri as a minister. This after his controversial comment on President Murmu. Meanwhile, Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has apologized on behalf of Giri. Rouse Avenue Court granted bail to Abhishek Boinpalli and Vijay Nair in the CBI case under Delhi excise scam, but both will remain in ED custody till November 19th.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
The most pressing issue, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivchakkar.
आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में। नहीं हेमा मालिनी।
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Officials involved in the case of Satyendra Jain's VIP treatment in Tihar jail have been pulled up. The jail superintendent has been suspended for providing undue and illegal benefits to prisoner Jain. Rouse Avenue Court in Delhi reserves order in Dinesh Arora plea to turn approver. The court will pronounce order on whether he will be made approver on November 16th. Supreme Court dismisses challenge to Delhi High Court order that had refused to stay criminal proceedings against former AAP councillor Tahir Hussain. This towards 3 FIRs registered against him in connection with the 2020 riots. Samajwadi Party leader Dimple Yadav, wife of party chief Akhilesh Yadav, filed a nomination for the Mainpuri Lok Sabha by poll. The seat fell vacant after the death of party patriarch Mulayam Singh Yadav on October 10. Kerala High Court cancels the appointment of Vice Chancellor of Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies Dr. Riji John. Following this, KSU staged a protest against corruption and nepotism at universities in Kerala.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching News Now Overnight with me, Priya Behel. First up, the top 50 stories you need to know about. Delhi police has solved the 6-month-old blind murder case by arresting Aftab, who chopped his girlfriend into 35 pieces before disposing her body parts across Delhi NCR for 14 to 18 days. BJP has accused the rights lobby of silence over this case, says outrage shown over Pehlu Khan and Akhlaq's murders is missing in this case. Congress slams the party for politicizing what is just a heinous crime. Meanwhile, Delhi Commission for Women has called it the most shocking case of her tenure, demanding strongest punishment against the murderer. No action, meanwhile, has been taken against the Telangana college where a young boy was first tortured and humiliated for his views expressed privately on Prophet Muhammad and then suspended by the college. TRS, the ruling party in the state, has blamed the BJP for the incident. They say students are being inspired by violent mentality that is being propagated by the BJP. Protests have broken out in Mumra after NCP Neta Jitendra Awad was booked for sexual harassment following a complaint of him forcibly dragging a woman by her arms. Jitendra Awad has resigned after 2 FIRs were registered against him within a span of 72 hours, but he called the cases fake. Political patronage for rapist Ram Rahim continues. His virtual satsang in Haryana's Panipat